Joe, will you please remind us how to use the meeting?
Sure. Welcome to our virtual meeting. If you lose connection at any point during the meeting, you can reconnect by clicking the link or calling the number in your original email. Members, if you are able, please activate your video and keep it on for the duration of the meeting. Staff, if you are able, please activate your video when you are speaking. All panelists have the ability to mute and unmute themselves. Please continue to use the raise hand feature when you'd like to be recognized to speak, ask questions, or request a roll call vote. Lowering your hand will take you out of the queue. Members of the public who have registered to speak. The name you entered in Zoom must match the name you entered in registration. You will remain muted until called upon. City staff will tell you when your time is up. After speaking, a member of the body may ask you a question. If you need to share documentation with the ALRC, please send it to the email listed on today's agenda. Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So this meeting is governed by Robert's Rules of Order. All speakers wishing to address the committee regarding an agenda item must first complete a registration form and submit it to the city clerk designee. Speakers may speak to the committee only after they're called by the chair. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. After speaking, the public is not allowed to address or respond to speakers or committee members unless they have been recognized by the chair of the committee. All right, Mr. Verbeek, are there any notified absences?
Dr. Reese is a notified absence for this meeting.
Thank you. Will you please call the roll?
Donnelly?
Present.
Donnelly here. Fletcher?
Yeah.
Fletcher here. Farley?
Here.
Farley here. Alder Miadzi?
Present.
Alder Miadzi here. Alder Revere?
Here.
And Alder Carter?
Present.
Here we have quorum.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So first up, I call this meeting of the LRC to order at 5:42 p.m. First item is approval of the minutes from April 20th, 2022. Committee, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Donnelly, can't hear anything you're saying.
All right.
I hear.
Can anybody-
I can hear you fine.
Same.
Assistant City Attorney Zilvey, can you hear other people?
I suspect it's on her end.
Okay. Well, yes, Joe, if there's anything you can do to help her, great. Otherwise, we'll just keep moving. Alder Miadzi.
Approval of minutes.
So it's a motion to approve the minutes from April 20th.
Yes.
Okay, and I see a second from Mr. Fletcher. Any discussion or corrections? Hearing none, is there any dissent? Seeing none, motion carries. Minutes from April 20th are approved. Next item, minutes from April 27th. Mr. Fletcher?
Move approval.
For motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alder Carter. Any discussion? Hearing none, any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries. Are there any registrants for general public comment?
Oh, I do not see any registrants for public comment.
All right. Disclosures and recusals. So at this time, members of the body should make any required disclosures or recusals under the city's ethics code. Alder Revere.
Thank you, Chairperson Donnelly. I wish to disclose that I am an officer of Madison Elks Lodge 410, and as such, wish to recuse myself on agenda item 43, change of agent, agenda item 78, the renewal of the Elks Lodge entertainment license, and agenda item 87, the renewal of the Elks Lodge Class B combination alcohol license.
Thank you, Alder Revere.
Thank you.
Any other disclosures or recusals? So along the same lines as Alder Verveer, I am an officer of the Bartow Community Theater Foundation. So I will recuse myself from the renewal of that license. Okay, that brings us to item 2, presentation of the consent agenda. So bad news and good news. Bad news, the proposed consent agenda is large. Good news, that means that every item on there is an item we don't have to go into depth on. Mr. Verbeek, will you please do a first quick read through of this, after which people can remove items, and then we can have a detailed reading.
Certainly, the proposed consent agenda for ALRC meeting May 18th, 2022. Recommend the council to grant operator license number 3, temporary class B retail license for commercial use permit, items 7, 8, 9, 10. Change of agents, items number 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. Business name change, item number 48. Entity reorganization, items number 51, 52, 56, 57, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 68, 69. Public hearing, new license, Define Gravity LLC, and under 83. And temporary class B retail license, current restricted use permit, items 94 and 95. Referral for the next ALRC on June 15th, 2022. Change of license conditions, item number 70, and change of license premise, item number 71. Recommend the council to re-refer to the next ALRC June 15th, 2022. Item number 82, public hearing new license, Pickle Pro Court LLC, and recommend the council to place on file without prejudice. Item number 11, temporary class B concurrent with street use permit, and 86, public hearing new license, item number 86.
All right, thank you, Mr. Verbeek. Committee, which of these items, if any, would you like removed from the consent agenda? Assistant City Attorney Zilliby.
Thank you. Items 14 to 20, and I don't really have an issue. I just have some questions.
All right, 14 through 20. What else?
That's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other items people would like to remove from the proposed consent agenda? All right, I'm not seeing Alder Carter. Alder Carter, you are on mute.
I just have a quick question. On the new license, are those generally on the consent agenda?
They are sometimes on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Is that all you needed? Cool.
I just didn't remember if they were ever on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Absolutely. We have a set of guidelines where if they meet any of those criteria, we ask that they not be included proactively. All right. Anything else? Mr. Fletcher?
Move approval of the consent agenda as amended.
All right. I hear a motion from Mr. Fletcher. Is there a second? Second from Alder Mounthy. All right. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none. Motion carries. All of the items remaining on the consent agenda have been granted, referred, or placed on file based on the recommendation. Mr. Verbeek will now read that list in its entirety. If you are here for one of the items that he is about to read, then you don't have anything else on the agenda, you are welcome to take off. Mr. Verbeek.
The past consent agenda for ALRC meeting May 18th, 2022. Recommend council to grant item number 3, operator license application, Robin R. Thompson. Item number 7, temporary Class B retail license, concurrent with use permit, Jazz on State LLC. Event Jazz on State, dates June 8th, 15th, 22nd, from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Item number 8, temporary Class B retail license, concurrent with use permit, Wilmar Neighborhood Center, event Fête de Marquette, dates July 14th to 17th. Item number 9, temporary Class B retail license, concurrent with use permit, Wilmar Neighborhood Center, event Atwood Fest, dates July 30th, noon to 10, and July 31st, noon to 7:30 p.m. Item number 10, temporary Class B retail license, concurrent with use permit, Wilmar Neighborhood Center, event Willy Street Fair, dates September 17th and 18th. Item number 12, change of agent, Brinker Restaurant Corp., 7301 Middle Point Road. Item number 13, change of agent, Brinker Restaurant Corporation, 4434 Eastwood Boulevard. Item number 21, change of agent, Trader Joe's East Inc. Item number 22, change of agent, Pizza Ventures 3 LLC. Number 23, change of agent, Papa Vero LLC. Item number 24, change of agent, North Central Management Inc. Item number 25, change of agent, Madison West Princeton Hotel Investors 1 LLC. 26, change of agent, Madison West Princeton Hotel Investors 2 LLC. 27, change of agent, Orange Tree Imports LLC. 28, change of agent, Quick Trip Inc., 6702 Raymond Road. Item number 29, change of agent, Quick Trip Inc., 4741 Lean Road. Item number 30, change of agent, Walgreens Co. 31, change of agent, Atwood Restaurant LLC. 32, change of agent, BSBC LLC. 33, change of agent, Luigi's Diner LLC. 34, change of agent, Deluxe of Madison LLC. 35, change of agent, Mission Barbecue East Madison, Wisconsin LLC. 37, change of agent, Marcus Hotels Hospitality LLC. 38, change of agent, Oakwood Lutheran Home Association Inc., 6209 Mineral Point Road. 39, change of agent, Oakwood Lutheran Home Association Inc., 5565 Toncho Drive. Item number 40, change of agent, Cracker Barrel Old Country Store Inc., 41, change of agent, Blazing Wings Inc., 42, change of agent, Ginza LLC. 43, change of agent, Madison Elks Lodge, number 410. Item number 44, change of agent, Segredo LLC. Number 45, change of agent, Madison Express LLC. 46, change of agent, 7-Eleven Inc., 2201 South Park Street. 47, change of agent, 7-Eleven Inc., 2703 West Beltline Highway. 48, business name change, Pizza Ventures LLC, current DBA Uno Chicago Grill, new DBA La Taguara Bar and Grill. 51, entity reorganization, Trader Joe's East Inc. 52, entity reorganization, HOA restaurant holder. 56, entity reorganization, Marcus Hotels Hospitality LLC. 57, entity reorganization, the Madison Club Inc. 59, entity reorganization, Blazing Wings Inc. 60, entity reorganization, In Towner LLC. 61, entity reorganization, Target Corporation, 4301 Lean Road. 62, entity reorganization, Target Corporation, 201 Junction Road. 63, entity reorganization, Target Corporation, 750 Hilldale Way. 64, entity reorganization, Pizza Ventures 3 LLC. 65, entity reorganization, Walmart Stores East LP. 66, entity reorganization, Provision Mercantile LLC. 68, entity reorganization, Aldi Inc., 3925 Lean Road. 69, entity reorganization, Aldi Inc., 8222 Watts Road. 83, public hearing new license Define Gravity LLC, 516 South Park Street, Class B combination liquor beer. Just note this entity was previously granted a license without conditions at this location, but the license was not issued prior to the statement of intent issuance deadline. Item number 94, temporary Class B retailer license convert with street use permit, Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra event concerts on the square, dates June 29th, July 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th, and August 3rd from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Rain dates each Thursday following. 95, temporary Class B retailer license concurrent with street use permit, Madison Central BID, events live on King Street, dates June 10th, 24th, and 24th, July 15th and 29th, and September 16th. Referral to the next ALRC meeting, June 15th, 2022. Item number 70, change of license conditions, Mad Sweet Pea LLC. Item number 71, change of license premises, Mad Sweet Pea LLC. Recommend the council to re-refer to next ALRC meeting on June 15th, 2022. Item number 82, public hearing new license, Pickle Pro Courts LLC, 2907 North Sherman Avenue. This applicant's revising their application to a Class B combination, so we will need to renotice it in the paper and send new postcards to the surrounding neighbors. And recommend to Common Council to place on file without prejudice. Item number 11, temporary Class B retailer license concurrent with street use permit, Wisconsin Hmong Association, Inc. Events, Wisconsin Hmong Music Fest. Date August 6th, noon to 5 p.m. This applicant has withdrawn their application. And number 86, public hearing new license, Family Dollar Stores, Wisconsin LLC, 2849 North Sherman Avenue, and this applicant has also withdrawn their application.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Verbeek. All right, so next up, item 4, operator's license application. Do we have a registrant for this item?
I don't think we do, but I've been in contact by email with this applicant, and I think they might just be having difficulty registering. But we do have a couple items that need interpretation, so I think if the committee would like, we can move on to those and then come back to the operator.
Let's do that. What are the items that need interpreters?
We have one item that needs interpretation for Spanish.
You have a late register, item 4, operator license application.
Okay.
All right, well, let's let them get done first, and then we can move to the items that require interpretation.
That's good. Item 4, Corinna T. Livingston Craig is here.
Excellent. Can you please introduce yourself?
Corinna, you should see a prompt to unmute yourself. And it might be behind a window. Corinna, if you could unmute yourself. Again, Corinna, I can't unmute for you. You should see a prompt asking to unmute. Oh, there you go.
Hey, yeah, so my camera on my phone is broken.
That is totally fine. We only need to hear your voice. Can you introduce yourself,
okay.
please?
I'm Corinna T. Livingston Craig.
Excellent. Thank you, Corinna. So Captain Sanders, can you please let us know why this application was flagged for our attention?
Absolutely, and I will try to make this sort of quick because this applicant came in front of the committee back on March 16th to kind of refreshing the memory. There was questions in regards to guideline number 5, which articulates applicants must truthfully and completely fill out applications. There was a question of a OWI conviction that occurred on 11/6 of 2019, in which after that was articulated. It was told that we needed to get some clarification. I was able to meet with the applicant via phone, in which she did her homework and was very responsive and submitted a letter to Mr. Verbeek on March 22nd of 2022, which outlines the clarification and her confusion. I don't know if Clerk Verbeek can share that with the committee.
Work on that.
So with the clarification, she kind of cleared up things, and I would let Karina articulate kind of what came of that, and that what she was able to, I guess, find in doing her own research into the whole DOT issue, and like I said, the charge that was associated with her.
Mike, you're muted.
Hello?
Excellent. Well, Karina, while Jim is looking for that, if you would like to give us the rundown.
I can actually find it on my laptop. But basically I don't have to read it because this is what happened. I did not know about a court date. And when I was there applying for my license, I CCAP myself. So to my clear knowledge, those were all the charges I had on myself. When I went to court in Racine, I assumed that it was all the case because this county is it's a county in Racine. Well, Racine is a county. It's a little town in Racine. So I assumed, because of how my ticket read in the only court date that I went to when I was trying to get my driver's license back and in order, they said that I wasn't receiving a driving under influence ticket. I was getting, it was like, I forgot the exact words, but however amended or however it was, Racine did it. So I was under the assumption that they took over the case from this small town because it's small, you know. I had no idea that I still had a charge there. And when you CCAP it, you cannot find it. So I really thought I didn't have a conviction for it. Honestly, like, it's something I did. It's something that I'm not denying. And had I known that there was an actual conviction for it, I would have put that on there because, I mean, I drove around with the interlock system in my car for a year. I just got it removed today. And I was still questioning. I even called DMV and asked them, why do I have this? Is I'm not convicted of a drunk driving. You know, I was in confusion myself.
Excellent. Thank you for the explanation. Alder Carter.
Corrine, so how did you get this cleared up? I guess that's the part that's missing.
So after this meeting, I went to Racine myself and went to that particular courthouse, which is Mount Pleasant. I went to the police department and I went there and spoke to them and asked them, like, what is my conviction? Because I thought that it was all switched over to the city of Racine. And they clarified it there that no, because you didn't show up for court here, that you were convicted. Had you had shown up for court, you know, you could have avoided the interlock and whatever, but I was convicted there. And like I said, if you CCAP it, which I did, and I wrote down everything that I could see, I had no idea. Like, I really had no idea I was convicted of it.
Okay,
and that
so
was my first and only charge of that sort. And I've been bartending for 23 years. And it wasn't a thing of me coming from work that had happened. I wasn't even working that day.
okay, so let me just back up for a few steps. So you went to Mount Pleasant. That's how you that's how you found out. And that's where the conviction was. And so how did you get that device on your car? Was that from Mount Pleasant or from Racine?
And that's where the confusion is, because Racine said that it was ordered through them. But if it was ordered through them and I was convicted through Mount Pleasant, that's where I'm confused.
Okay. So that's where the confusion lies, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Alder Carter. Captain Sanders, is there anything that you need to add? I see him shaking his head. Committee, with your
clarity.
Excellent. And Karina, you have my empathy. I've driven back and forth between Madison and Racine a bunch, so an extra trip is.
Yeah.
Sorry, you had to go through that. Committee, what is your pleasure? Alder Carter.
I move to grant.
Your motion to grant. Is there a second? Do I hear a second? Second from Mr. Fletcher. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? All right, hearing none, motion carries. Application is granted. Congratulations, Karina, and again, sorry for all the hassle.
Thank you. I wish I'd have known this sooner. It would have saved all this.
I understand. All right. Now, Mr. Verbeck, which items require the services of an interpreter?
Sure. We have one Spanish item. It's going to be item number 79. It's a new license. And then we have 4 items that need Chinese interpretation. That's going to be items 36 and 55. And the reason those 2 weren't on the consent agenda is because it's a sole member LLC being replaced with a new person. The same outgoing member of that LLC is applying for item number 84. So it's the same sort of person is involved in those 2. And then there's another new license, item number 81 also needs Chinese interpretation. So my thought was we would do 79 first, let the Spanish interpreter go, and then take up the Chinese ones.
That makes sense. And when you say Chinese, you mean Mandarin?
Mandarin, yeah.
Okay. All right, let us do item 79 then. So this is item 79, new license application.
Nueva licencia es una aplicación
For Mishqui at 4604.
para 4006.
Oh, I forgot. Jim, do you swear in the interpreter?
¿Se puede esperar el intérprete? Ay, lo siento.
Lo siento. I'm sorry. I know when my application, when I applied, I put it in Spanish because I thought like you're asking me my first language is Spanish, but I speak English. So I think it'll be okay. I'm sorry. I think I already covered this part.
Oh, nothing to be sorry about.
Yeah.
And we would much rather have a mistake in that direction than in the other direction. Mm-hmm. So are you fully confident holding this discussion in English?
Yes.
Okay, no reservations at all, because like you are not going to be charged for the services of the interpreter if you want to use them.
No, thank you. Anyways.
Okay, great. Well, in that case, so just to be really sure, Jim, we don't have any other items that require Spanish interpretation?
No, we don't.
Okay, so Spanish interpreter, you may go home. Have a great night.
Thanks.
So let's move on to the Mandarin items then.
接下来我们讨论需要中文翻译的几个项目。
Jim, do you have an order that you would recommend that we handle these?
次序想从哪个开始？
Shall we then start with the 2 for Ragin Cajun?
我们先讨论那 Ragin Cajun 这2项。
And do you need to swear in the interpreter first?
Sure, I can do that. If you can raise your right hand and affirm it will accurately interpret English to Mandarin and Mandarin to English.
Yes.
So
Excellent. So do we have a registrant for items 36 and 55?
32号跟55号项目有没有申请人在？有没有谁登记的？
we do. Dun Zhao is registered for those items.
是的，是敦州。
Hello， 你好。
Hi.
Excellent. So, Dun, can you please describe to us the way that the Ragin' Cajun seafood business is going to change?
那么敦，你能不能解释一下这个 Ragin' Cajun 它这个餐馆这营业是会有些什么变化？
是想说，就是他之前的 agent 嘛，然后他因为要经营别的餐馆，然后他现在几乎就是很少，他是我叔叔嘛，然后他现在几乎就很少来这边嘛，然后这边几乎都是我在看着嘛，所以我就想说，今年想把这个 agent 能不能换成我自己的。换成我的名字，这样会不会方便一点？
Yeah, so the previous agent for the restaurant, he is for the most part managing other restaurants that he operates, and he is not he's not here as much, and he's my uncle actually, so it's basically me that is operating the restaurant. So I figured that it would be easier if we were to transfer the agent name to me.
Right. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant?
委员会的成员有没有什么问题要问申请人？
Alder Carter.
So have you been running this restaurant the whole time?
那么这家餐馆是不是一直都是你在经营？
The daily business the whole time?
就日常营业都是你在经营吗？
对，我一般每周一般6到7天都在餐馆。
Yeah, for the most part, I am at the restaurant 6 to 7 days a week.
Okay, thank you.
好，谢谢。
Committee, what other questions do you have for the applicant?
委员会有没有什么其他问题要问申请人的吗？
Alder Revere, I know you often have opinions about business such as this. Do you have any questions?
事业 Revere 通常都会对这些企业都有一些问题。那么今天有没有什么问题要问的吗？
你可以再说一遍，我没有听清楚。
哦，是问一个市议员叫 Revere， 他通常都会对这些企业都会有一些问题，所以问一下今天有没有什么问题要问？
没有什么问题。
Thank you, Chair. I actually did not seek recognition, but I could ask a question as it relates to this for the applicant. So my question is, I see in the change of agent application, you say that you currently own 50% of the business. Will does your uncle own the other 50% of the business? And is that the same individual that is being removed in the other application?
所以我有一个问题要问，就是在换负责人换 agent 这个申请表格上面，你填写的是你是50%的老板，那么就是说另外50%，是不是你的叔叔也就是原来的负责人？
是的。
Yes.
So thank you. So does that mean that you will become the sole owner of the restaurant then?
谢谢。那么是不是代表你是接下来就是会成为这家餐馆的唯一的老板？
接下来暂时我们还是2个股东吧，我们是 partner。
Yeah, so for now we will still remain co-owners.
Thank you. Does your uncle have the knowledge that you are removing him as not only the agent, but as an officer of the corporation?
谢谢。那么你的叔叔知不知道，你会把他的名字从 agent 这个题目下面就去掉，然后就是他的名字也会从这个营业的业主上面也会去掉。
他知道。
He knows.
Okay, thank you. So just to be clear, your uncle will still be 50% owner of the business, but you wish to, or he wishes to be removed as one of the officers of the corporation, your limited liability company.
谢谢。那么我就在最后澄清一下，那就是说你和你的叔叔还是各会拥有50%的就股份，然后你是会把他的名字从营业负责人的名单上去除，是不是？
是的。
Correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
谢谢。
Thank you, Alder Revere. Committee, do you have any other questions for the applicant?
那委员会有没有什么其他的问题想问申请人的？
It appears there are no questions. A motion would be in order at this time.
那么接下来看一下，没有其他问题要问，有没有谁提出动议的？
And if you make a motion, please indicate whether it's for item 36, change of item 55, the entity reorganization, or both. Mr. Fletcher.
Mr. Chair, I don't have a motion so much as a question. In a one-to-one sort of swap situation like this, and I believe Ms. Foley asked kind of the same similar question last month. You know, treating this application, and processing it this way versus processing it as a new license application. Could you remind me and others on the committee of the distinction in terms of the criteria there?
Okay. Alder Revere, would you like to do this one, or would you like me to handle it? I'm happy either way.
I think yourself or our legal counsel would probably be best. I know I gave it my interpretation a month ago as the vice chair states.
So I'll start with the intent and then get to the details. So the intent is if a business is going to be changing to new ownership, then that is practically speaking a new license, even if it's got the same name on the wall. We've seen through extensive experience that it is not, for the most part, the location of the business or the size that determines whether there will be problems. It is who is owning and operating it. So when there have been attempts in the past to sidestep that by having somebody simply change the ownership of the corporation, we've asked them to apply for a new license. There are cases, on the other hand, where the change is of a more internal nature. So that could be something like this case, where there are two family members who are both involved in operation of the business. And one of them is taking their name off of it, but the person who is going to be the new owner and the new agent is someone who has been actively and thoroughly involved in that operation, meaning that the odds of a significant change of character are low. Have I satisfactorily answered your question?
You have indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking. Committee, what other questions or motions do you have? Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move to grant items number 36 and 55.
Motion to grant 36 and 55 from Mr. Fletcher. Ms. Farley, is that a second? Second from Ms. Farley. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none. Motion carries. Items 36 and 55 are granted. So, all right, next, let's jump to item 84, as I believe there's a connection between that item and this one. Do we have a registrant here for item 84, new license for Hot Pot at 2825 University?
We do. Ting Kai Zhao is registered.
Excellent. Ting, can you please introduce yourself?
If you could need to unmute yourself.
Joe, are you able to see what audio channel Ting is listening to right now?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and turn off interpretation. Oh, okay. There we go.
听得到吗
Hello， 你好。你问他一下，听得到吗？你要问。
Hello. Okay. 听得到 Okay.
哦，听得到是吧
Okay, we can hear.
哦，可以。
So, Ting, welcome. Can you please introduce yourself?
那欢迎你来听，能不能自我介绍一下？
是哦，看不见哦，又没有了，是不是叫我刚才？
是啊，你叫你名字说一下你。
没有了，不是的。
听介绍你的名字说了。
不是说我的号码是不是叫我，不是别人的？我知道没有？有一。
Let me make sure calling the right number. This is the right agenda. Then.
Hello， 哎，是不是轮到我的号码了
？Is it my turn?
你说你听得到吗？
是不是到？你听得到吗
？Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
我们听得到，我们听得到。
哦，你是不是轮到我讲话了
So is it my turn?
So, are you here for item 84, Hot Pot at 2825 University?
你是不是就是 Hot Pot 那一个项目在2825 University Avenue?
Yeah. 没错。
That's correct.
Excellent. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us about your proposed business?
Okay. 那么好，那你能不能自我介绍一下，然后跟我们解释一下你这个企业是怎么个安排？
哦，我这个餐馆呢，就是说，可能就是说做火锅之类嘛，火锅之类的，但是有各种各样的东西提供给客人吃嘛，有的是饺子啊、包子啊，反正说头台呀、很多东西提供给客人吃嘛。然后我就是想申请一个啤酒啊、红酒啊、酒牌，让客人配点啤酒嘛。就一人有来的话寄来的话买一两瓶啤酒嘛，就这样就是为餐饮增加一点生意嘛。
Yeah, so this is a restaurant that's going to be a hot pot restaurant. And aside from hot pot, we're gonna have all sorts of other different kinds of food for our customers, like dumplings or like bao or appetizers, and just kind of hoping to be able to acquire a license to be able to serve some beer or some red wine, so our customers can have that to pair with their meals and to hopefully produce a little bit higher amount of business.
Excellent, thank you. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant?
那委员会有没有什么问题要问申请人的？
Mr. Fletcher?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What is the other business that you own in Madison?
那么你在 Madison 有其他的企业，那些都是什么企业？
那些都是开餐馆。我在 Madison 开了好几家餐馆，在这里呢，我都是我自己的亲人啊，我侄子啊，怎么样正在打理，正在管理。
So I my other businesses are all restaurants. I have quite a few other restaurants in the Madison area, and and they're all operated by either relatives or my wife.
And okay, thank you. That's all for now.
谢谢。
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Committee, what other questions do you have for the applicant?
委员会有没有什么其他问题想问申请人的吗？
有什么问题要问他？
他也没忘。
Committee, do you have any questions for this applicant? If there are no questions, a motion would be in order.
所以委员会有没有什么其他问题要问申请人的？如果没有其他问题的话，那么接下来请委员会的成员提出动议。
Okay, turning interpretation back on.
Thank you.
你跟他说没有问题。
Mr. Fletcher?
I would move approval, Mr. Chair.
Your motion to grant from Mr. Fletcher. I see a second from Alder Miadzi. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none. Motion carries. Item 84 is granted. Congratulations, Tang. Next up is our final item requiring Mandarin translation. Item 81, application for new license for Fin Sushi at 610 Junction Road. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
We do. Ping Jian is here.
Yes.
Excellent. Ping, can you please introduce yourself and describe to us your proposed business?
所以能不能自我介绍一下，然后跟我们描述一下你的企业的计划？
大家好，我叫江平，我的餐主要是卖寿司，餐厅主要卖寿司。
Yeah, so hello everyone, my name is Jiang, and my restaurant is going to be primarily selling sushi.
Can you please describe the role that alcohol will play in this business?
那你能解释一下，在你的企业里，酒精会是扮演什么角色？
很多客人夏天进来想喝酒，我觉得它会增加我们的销售额和客人和服务之类。
很多客人夏天想进来喝酒，我想，就是说加点酒，就是说，让我们增加一点营业额，
还有提升服务。
还有提升服务。
So during the summer months, a lot of our customers want to come in and have some alcoholic beverages. So I was hoping to be able to have that to provide for a customer base and hopefully in turn increase our business revenue.
Thank you.
谢谢。
Committee, what questions do you have for this applicant?
那委员会有没有什么问题要问申请人的？
我吗？没有。
Mr. Fletcher.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Have you had discussions with the alderperson of the district? I'm asking that because, you know, there's a check next to yes and then a question mark right next to the box on question 29. I just want to make sure that that's been done.
有一个问题要问一下，你有没有跟这个你餐馆区域的市议员有没有跟他们联系过？因为在申请表格上面第29号问题，你勾的是yes， 但是在29号问题旁边又打了一个问号，所以我们想确认一下。
有。
Yes.
Thank you.
好，谢谢。
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Committee, what other questions do you have for the applicant? Alder Carter.
Yes. Did you have an informational at the restaurant?
是的，你有没有在你的餐馆里，你有没有提供一个信息会议？
有。
Yes.
And when was that?
是什么时候安排的？
稍等看一下。
等我看一下。
Oh, hold on, let me look it up. Interpreter is going to have to ask for a repeat. 是5月4号还是10号
？4。
May 4th.
Okay, thank you. And where on Junction Road is this restaurant located?
还有在 Junction Road 上，这个餐馆到底是在 Junction Road 上面的哪里
？16 Junction.
610 Junction.
Where? What is it near? What other things are near this? I'm trying to look it up. I'm not finding anything.
餐馆的周围还有一些什么其他地方？因为好像试着在地图上找，但是不是。
呼哈旁边。
呼哈 next to 呼哈。
Okay, thank you very much.
好，谢谢。
Any further questions, Alder Carter?
No, I'm fine.
Thank you. Okay, what other questions do you have for the applicant?
委员会有没有什么其他问题要问申请人的？
If there are no questions, then a motion would be in order at this time.
如果没有什么其他问题的话，那现在是提出动议的时候了。
Mr. Fletcher.
Move approval, Mr. Chair.
Motion from Mr. Fletcher to approve. I see second from Alder Miadzi. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Seeing none, motion carries. Item 81, new license for Fin Sushi at 610 Junction is granted. Congratulations, John. All right, that will bring us back to the top of the agenda. Mr. Verbeek, there are no further items that require interpretation, correct?
That is correct.
All right, thank you for your service. All right, next up, Mr. Fletcher.
Are we at items 5 and 6, Mr. Chair?
We are at 5 and 6.
I will move to table those items until toward the end of our business items, the rest of our business items, if possible.
All right. Your motion to table from Mr. Fletcher. Is there a second? Second from Alder Miadzi. Any discussion? Any dissent? Motion carries. Items 5 and 6 are tabled. That brings us to items 14 through 20. Those are change of agent applications for Capital Petroleum LLC. Do we have a registrant here for these items?
I do not see a registrant for those items.
No registrant. Let's see. Assistant City Attorney Willy, is there anything you would like to bring to our attention?
Well, I had asked these to be separated because I don't know if the committee remembers, but Farouk Shahzad in March of 2019, I believe it was, he was sentenced to 30 months in federal prison for his conviction for selling synthetics out of his gas station. And one of the terms of that was that he couldn't be the agent for his locations. And I'm just curious who this Shahzad is and what their role is in the companies. Previously, when he was sent to prison, I believe it was his wife who was the liquor beer agent. And just given the history and such, I wanted to know who this individual was and what their involvement is with the business.
I vividly remember that history and I certainly understand wanting to ask those questions. So, Mr. Fletcher?
I would move to refer items 14 through 20 until our next regularly scheduled meeting.
I hear a motion to refer items 14 through 20, second from Alder Carter. Any discussion? Here, Alder Miadzi, is that a question?
The reasoning for referring it, just to have to be on the same page with the Vice Chair.
To have the opportunity for the new agent to explain their relationship to the owner and to provide satisfaction and comfort to both the committee and the city attorney's office that the legal conditions upon the owner are being complied with.
Is this information going to be shared with committee members so that we can be able to be brought up to speed about?
I mean, certainly it's all public information. My recommendation, which of course can all do with as you see fit, would be to get the information at the same time that the applicant is here. Otherwise, I think it's likely we'll end up going through it all twice. But as you see fit, if you want to ask Assistant City Attorney Willy, I'm sure she could provide additional information.
Okay, I would love that, just to be able to understand the process. Thank you.
I can send out a synopsis to the clerk who can disseminate it to the committee with the history and what happened and such, if that would be helpful.
Thank you, Attorney. Appreciate it.
Do you find that satisfactory, Alder Miazzi?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Committee, what other questions do you have on these items? All right, we have a motion from Mr. Fletcher, second from Alder Carter to refer items 14 through 20. Any further discussion of this motion? Is there any dissent? Seeing none, motion carries. Items 14 through 20 are referred. Next up, item 49, entity reorganization for, Madison Residence Inn at 4862 Hayes. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
I do not believe we do.
Committee, what's your pleasure? Alder Carter. Alder Carter, you are muted.
I move to refer this to our next meeting.
Your motion to refer, is there a second? Do I hear a second? If there is, Alder Miazzi?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to refer item 49 to the next regularly scheduled ALRC meeting. Alder Verveer and then Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you, Chair. As a reminder, we referred this item on previous agendas. This is a national corporation that the Vice Chair had separated this out, as I recall, because they, I think, made a mistake in answering the question on page 2 of the application. So if I could, I wanted to ask the Deputy City Clerk to confirm this application was filed on February 6th or signed February 16th. I don't know when it was actually filed in your office, but can you confirm, Jim, that you had contact with the applicant since our last ALRC meeting and instilled in them the importance of attendance tonight by someone in their corporation?
I did. I reached out to the contact, which I believe is legal counsel for the applicant. It was out of Danielle Notaramazui with the Skeen Law Firm.
Yeah, I see that email address on the application. And it says she's a paralegal.
Yeah, I had sent her the invite for both this meeting and the previous one as well.
And no responses, you recall?
No. And the invite to the April one, I sent it to both her and the accounting at skeenlawfirm.com, and I've not received a response from either of those.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Alder Verveer. Alder Miazzi.
I'm sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
Alder Carter.
Well, in that case, because now that you mentioned it, I do remember it now. What would be the option that I would have? Because what I'm thinking is to place it on file without prejudice.
That does put us in an interesting position because unlike a change of licensed premises, this isn't that they're requesting something to change with their license. They are informing us that their corporate structure has changed.
Mm-hmm.
So if we deny or place on file this this application, I believe that would mean, and please, Assistant City Attorney Brisk, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that would mean that their corporate structure would no longer be in line with the license, which would mean their license would be they would be not following their license, and we could move forward with revocation based on that, but that's rather far-fetched.
Okay, so what does Attorney Brisk have to say?
Well,
what wisdom do you have for me?
I think at some point we have to send the word to them that we're not going to act on this application until we hear from them. How about we do a certified letter to the people and tell them that we're going to deny the application unless we hear from them.
And that if we deny it, that they would then be in violation of their license because what's on file
would be incorrect.
That sounds reasonable to me.
Assistant City Attorney Brisk, would you be willing to draft a letter like that?
I'd be happy to work with you to do that, yes.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Assistant City Attorney Brisk. Alder Verveer and then Alder Miadzi.
Thank you. Perhaps a simpler approach would be asking the Deputy City Clerk to pull their renewal application and confirming what my suspicion is that the paralegal simply answered the question incorrectly back in February. Again, the question is, after this change, how many total officers, members, directors will be in the organization? She listed 1, but then if you go and look at who the new officer is, their title is vice president. It seems unlikely that this national corporation has solely one officer whose title is vice president, it seems to me. I think that she interpreted the question as how many are being changed. So could we, Jim, is it a lot of effort for you to pull, and I realize your colleagues in the office all divvy up the renewal applications and audit them. Is it something yet tonight that you'd have access to their renewal application, or if not tonight, it might be easier than asking Attorney Brisk to draft the letter and so forth.
I certainly could with minimal effort. However, with recent technical changes, I have to be on the VPN to access Acela, but I can't be on VPN to be in Zoom. So I'd have to leave the meeting to go access that.
Yes, you explained it at the top of the meeting, or maybe before the public meeting started, before we had quorum.
Perhaps, given that we already have a motion before us to refer this item, we could request that Deputy Clerk Verbeek, between now and the next meeting, make that determination. And if it does indeed appear to be a clerical error, we can discuss and act accordingly at the next meeting. If it is not a clerical error, he could reach out again to the applicant to convince them to actually come to a meeting. Alder Carter and Alder Miadzi, is that in line with the spirit of your motion?
Yes, to refer to next meeting in order to take care of this clerical error in the meanwhile.
Jim, that cool with you?
Is that do we need a motion for that, or?
You already made one, or Alder Carter made one, you seconded it. Okay, we have a motion and a second to refer to the next ALRC meeting, or next regularly scheduled ALRC meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, any dissent? Hearing none, item 49 is referred to the next regularly scheduled ALRC meeting. Next up, the Laurel at 2505 Monroe. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
We do not. The reason this was pulled from was not put on the consent agenda is because there is 2 members of the LLC, I believe, and this is swapping out one of those, so it'd be a 50% change.
Committee, what's your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher?
Move to refer, and if the deputy city clerk could make additional outreach efforts, that would be good.
A motion to refer from Mr. Fletcher, second from Alderman Yazzie. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Motion carries. Next, item 53, Lao Lanzhang at 2098 Atwood. Do we have a registrant for this item?
We do not.
Committee, what's your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher?
Refer to next regular meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Alder Carter. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none. Motion carries. Item 53 is referred to the next regularly scheduled ALRC meeting. Item 54, entity reorganization for Sweet Home, Wisconsin at 910 Regent. Do I have a registrant for this item?
We do not.
Committee, Mr. Fletcher?
Move to refer.
And a second. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Alder Carter. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? None. Motion carries. Item 54 is referred. Item 58, entity reorg for Schweigler's on Grand Canyon. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
We do.
Hallelujah.
Robert Bloxham and David Berg are both registered.
Excellent. Since I'm guessing they will not know the question that they want to answer, I'm going to ask first for Mr. Verbeek to tell us what is of interest to this for this application.
Actually, they do, because I did email them to let them know that it's coming. Yeah, Robert is the agent, and then David, I believe, is going to be one of the officers that are coming in.
All right. So, Rob and David, can you please tell us what's going on?
Hi, I've been the agent of Schweigler's for quite a while. Carter Smith, the owner, passed away in December. So unfortunately, that draws us to changing some officers in the business as we filled out all of the new paperwork and relicensing and stuff like that for this year. The question that was put in front of us was if anything was going to change. The example was, are you going to turn it into a nightclub? And I can assure you that our bowling center is not going to turn into a nightclub. Business will remain the same. We'll keep focusing on the same family entertainment that we always have.
Excellent. Thank you, Rob. Mr. Fletcher.
Rob, can you just explain the connection of the individuals to the business, the new directors?
Sure. Grant Smith is Carter's son, and he's the president. And then Dave Berg, who is also available here, is Carter's partner in a few other bowling centers and business ventures in the state of Wisconsin.
And you check the box, yes, in terms of the interest or control in other kind of licensed establishments. I think there's a reference to see both sheets, but do they have any other sort of establishments in the city of Madison?
Not in the city of Madison.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Committee, what other questions do you have for the applicants? Alder Carter.
Yes. I have a quick question because I believe was it not too long ago there was a disturbance at your location, probably 2021, I believe.
There was a disturbance. I don't have the date in front of me now.
And were you a nightclub then?
No.
Okay, so can you tell me how this happened?
Can I tell you what happened?
How that disturbance happened? I know the police was called. I know there were shots fired.
Sure. So there were individuals who came into our bowling center that shot guns in our parking lot. Beyond that, to tell you their motives, I do not have that information handy.
But it wasn't inside the facility?
There was nothing inside the facility. It was out in the parking lot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alder Carter. Committee, what other questions do you have for these applicants? Mr. Verbeek, are there any other registrants for this item?
There are not beyond these two.
Thank you. Committee, what is your pleasure?
Could I ask a question?
By all means.
Is the son the personal representative of the estate, or in managing the bowling alley as in that capacity, or what's the status of that, of the transfer of the asset?
Dave, do you have information down those lines?
Dave Berg here. Mark Sewell with DeWitt Ross Stevens is he is responsible for the estate, the executor. Currently, it is in the estate. We have to evaluate it. Valuations. The plan is eventually to have a sale, but that is not happening currently due to how long it's taken to evaluate any property right now.
So, are you changing who's in control of the facility at this time?
So Kingpin Management has overseen this property for 8 years. I'm the president of Kingpin Management. Our office is there. Rob and his wife, Marcia, is the GM there. Rob is the agent. They oversee the day-to-day operations. Sadly, with Carter's health, he's been out of the picture probably for when he got COVID a year before he passed away, and that was kind of his downfall. So all day-to-day operations with me being the president of the management company have fallen to myself and Rob for the last few years.
And are you basically the heirs of the estate then?
Correct. That is what's currently in the estate. Once his wife passes away, it would go on to myself and Grant if it was to stay that way. That's not necessarily how we will look to do it.
Because you may sell it off?
Well, or we might, instead of us getting it, in 20, 30 years, we might just make an offer to the estate essentially and sell it.
Make an offer to purchase it?
Purchase it. Sorry, I apologize.
So basically, you would be buying. You would have a future expectation to inherit, but you want to settle it and reorganize it to transfer it
to keep control. Yeah, I mean the only reorganization would be the Carter aspect. Everything day-to-day operations is still the same.
Okay,
and would continue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Assistant City Attorney Preston. Committee, what's your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher.
I just want to be sure that Attorney Brist's questions were satisfied with the estate issues. Otherwise, I would move to approve.
Any concerns, Assistant City Attorney Brist?
No, I don't think so, based on what I heard.
All right, I hear Mr. Fletcher's motion to grant item 58, entity reorg for Schweiglers. Do I hear a second? Alderman Miazzi? Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries and 58 is granted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, Rob and David. Next up is item 67, our final entity reorganization for the night. This is Maharani at 380 West Wash. Jim, do we have a registrant here for this item?
Let me double check. The reason this was not on the consent agenda is because we're missing the second page from it. We did reach out to them, but we've not heard anything, and I do not see anyone registered for this item.
All right, Mr. Fletcher.
Refer to next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
Second from Alder Carter. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none. Motion carries. All right, on to the juicier part of the meeting. Item 72, a change of licensed premises application for Settle Down at 117 South Pinckney. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
Yes, Samuel Parker is here.
Excellent. Samuel, can you please introduce yourself and describe what you're proposing?
Sam, you're unmuted on our end. Samuel? You are unmuted on our end. Do you have a mute button on your mic? Try exiting the meeting and coming back in, but we cannot hear you.
Looks like he is connected. Samuel, are you with us? I see your hand going up and down, and you're not muted on this end.
I suggest moving on to the next one and coming back.
Great. I would entertain a motion to table item 72. Mr. Fletcher, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alder Carter. Any discussion? Alder Miazzi?
No, I was going to second it till my colleague blurted it out.
All right. So we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Motion carries. Item 72 is tabled. Next up, item 73, change of licensed premises for Hawks at 425 State. Do we have an applicant here, a registrant here for this item?
I do not see anyone registered for this item.
All right, committee, what's your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher?
Move referral to our next. Well, a question, maybe a question for the city clerk. It says request to expand service to outdoors, the outdoors capacity to 25. Is that correct?
I believe this is one of those that was a streetery that needs permit extension.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
I can try reaching out to the applicant tonight and see if they can get registered before the meeting's over.
That would be fine. If we have a motion to, or if we approve a motion to refer and Hawk is able to show up, then we can move to reconsider.
Sounds good.
But before we could do that, we would need a second for Mr. Fletcher's motion to refer. Is there a second? Alderman Yancey. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Seeing none, motion carries. Item 73 is referred. Item 74, change of licensed premises for Wilson's at 2144 Atwood. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
Yes, we have two registrants, Jesse Wilson and Randy Wilson.
All right, Jesse and Randy, please introduce yourselves and let us know what you're proposing.
Hi there, I'm Randy Wilson, the owner of Wilson's Bar, and we're trying to continue the outdoor patio, which we had luckily because of the City of Madison streetery.
I'm Jessie Wilson, daughter of Randy Wilson and manager at Wilson's Bar.
A very straightforward application. Committee, what questions do you have for the registrants, for the applicants? Okay, so Randy and Jesse, don't be concerned. We had somebody come in early and do one of these applications, so people have gotten to understand them fairly well. Alder Revere.
Thank you. Out of curiosity, do you folks know, do you qualify for the automatic conditional use permit because you can meet all of those conditions of the conditional use permit under the permanent streetery program in terms of your hours of operation and no amplification outdoors?
Believe that we know the things we're supposed to do, and we close when it got dark, and we know the months we're supposed to be doing it. And
But he said, what was it called? An automatic conditional?
Yeah, so it's
different than what we applied for?
It doesn't really affect what we do here at the ALRC. I'm just trying to help you all out and confirm. Maybe I should rephrase the question. Since the city council made the streetery program permanent in the last week in March is when we voted to do that. There's a two-step process for establishments like yours where you have your outdoor patios on private property. So one step is what you're doing right now with us at the ALRC. The other step is confirming with city zoning, just to confirm that you can meet all of these kind of general conditions that we placed on outdoor private property dining and drinking. And if you can, then you don't have to go to a plan commission meeting to seek an exemption from any of those rules. We call them technically supplemental regulations in the zoning code. So I just wanted to confirm that if you haven't already called or gone in person to the municipal building basement to talk to the zoning staff, that you should do so just to make sure that your streetery is made permanent, not just by us as it relates to the alcohol licensing. Have you been able to?
Yes. Thanks for that clarification. We have submitted our application with the city, and they have communicated with us, and we're making some revisions to the plan so that we can just do this year, and then it'll be permanent going forward.
Very good. So you aren't asking, for example, to be outside past 10 o'clock, for example?
No.
Very good.
we want to shut down at dark.
Yeah, just like your dad said.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions, Chair, I'm happy to move to grant.
Please do. All right. So we have a motion from Alder Verveer. Is there a second from Mr. Fletcher? Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none. Motion carries. Change of license premises for Wilson's is granted. Congratulations, Randy and Jesse.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Next up, item 75, change of licensed premises for Musk Lounge and Sporting Club at 4102 Monona. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
We actually have quite a few. We have John Laziva, sorry I butchered that, Del Lawrenson, Chad Vogel, Son Farr, and Mike McDonald. Mike McDonald is registered in support, not wishing to speak, but the other four are registered in support, not wishing to speak, but available to answer questions.
Is one of those registrants the applicant?
Yes, it's Chad Vogel.
Excellent. Chad, can you please introduce yourself and let us know the change that you're proposing?
Hi, everybody. Chad Vogel, owner partner with the Musk Lounge. We had an event last year. We called this Strip Mall Carnival, which we got a dunk tank and we did kind of ring toss and a bunch of those type of games to raise money for Clean Wisconsin in partnership with State Line. And it was a success, and we would like to expand it a little bit more, get more carnival games, and see if we can't raise a little bit more money for the charity.
Whom did you dunk?
Well, John, who's on this call, Sean, myself, Representative of Hong, Brian Bartles from Settle Down, Christy Jenna from Jenna's, Colleen Hayes, a couple other people. There's a bunch. We had a good lineup.
Excellent.
Cool. We're trying to get AJ Dillon this year, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, you really need some people that people dislike, right?
Yeah, I thought that was me and Sean, but you know.
All right, you got to raise your menace profile. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? Assistant City Attorney Zillavy, then Mr. Fletcher.
Could you describe, I'm looking at a picture of the Muska Lounge and part of the shopping center, and it's hard to read on my copy. There's a kind of whitish line that extends. It looks like
so there's several parking lots going towards it's Gigi's and then Meet People, and then I think it's Burn Boot Camp. We'd be going, I believe it's 9 parking spots over, not quite till you get to Burn Boot Camp.
So is it just like an extension of the fence at your property down on either side?
Yep, we literally want to put a fence up, obviously, so nobody can take their drinks out into the parking lot, and then have our kind of carnival games in there so people can watch. You know, because it's not fun dunking anybody if nobody's cheering.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Assistant City Attorney Zillavy. Mr. Fletcher, then Alder Miazzi.
Chad, just kind of in terms of operations this year versus last year and expected attendance, what are the kind of similarities, differences?
Well, I would say during last year's event, we had about 300 people throughout the day. It's a 5-hour event. So people kind of come and go. We're hoping to get, more, obviously more than that this year. And with having more games, those kind of games like ring toss and I can never remember the one with the sledgehammer and it goes ding on the top.
Oh, the high striker.
That one is high striker. Thank you. We just wanted kind of more room to, because those games, like that's kind of what generates most of the donation. So we just wanted more space that people can kind of be around that and watch and participate in the event.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher, Alder Miadzi, and then Assistant City Attorney Zelby.
Just wondering, do you have anybody by the fence just to make sure that nobody's leaving with drinks or so forth?
Absolutely. We have pretty much our whole staff on that day, which is 13 people plus all the state line staff helps us out. So between managing the games, we have basically one person on each side, just making sure nobody gets out with a drink.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alder Miadzi. I see Assistant City Attorney Zelby.
Sorry, I always forget to lower my hand.
No worries.
I did.
What other questions do people have for the applicant? No, you don't get to ask questions. All right. In that case, Mr. Verbeek, if I remember correctly, none of the other registrants wanted to speak unless people had questions for them.
That's correct.
All right. In that case, a motion would be in order at this time. Alder Miadzi.
Move a motion to approve.
Second.
Approved from Alder Miadzi, second from Alder Revere. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Is there any dissent? Seeing none, motion carries. Congratulations, Chad. Hope the event goes well and that you raise plenty for Clean Wisconsin.
All right. Thank you so much.
Of course. Have a good night. Next up, item 76, 21 plus entertainment license for Paul's Pelmeni. Alder Revere.
Thank you. I move to take from the table agenda item number 72, Settle Down Tavern, change of license premise. Sam has informed me that he switched devices and should be good to go now.
Wonderful. I hear a motion to pick up item 72 off the table from Alder Revere, second from Mr. Fletcher. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 72 is back before us. And Samuel J. Parker is connecting to audio. And now the suspense begins.
Yeah, I'm not looking at the gallery view, but it's not giving me an option to unmute him.
It's because he is still connecting. Mike, do you have any other information to share on?
He says he switched to his telephone and he can hear us.
Well, I'll try promoting him to a panelist and just kill his video. I don't think that does anything. Samuel will have to accept promotion to panelist. Yeah, Not seen this before.
Joe, what would you?
He says he's not seeing any prompt he needs to accept relating to panelist.
Okay.
He can hear us, but he can't see a prompt.
Yeah, and it's not giving me any option to unmute him. If you could try *6.
I'm worried that since it says he's still connecting to audio, that there isn't anything to approve or unmute or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Should we table this item again and have Samuel reboot the stuff and give it another try to get back in?
Sounds like a plan.
Apologize for the false alarm.
Not a problem. We live in imperfect times. Mr. Fletcher, is that a motion to table? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Alder Verveer. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Seeing none. Motion or item is tabled. All right. Moving right along. Item 76, 21 plus entertainment license for Paul's Palmeni at 414 West Gilman Street. Do we have a registrant for this item?
I do not see any registrants for this item.
All right. Committee, what's your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher?
Move referral to our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Alder Verveer. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? None. Motion carries. Item 76 is referred. Item 77, 21 plus entertainment license for Lazy Oaf at 1617 North Stoughton. Oh, but wait. I'm not going to jinx it by asking for a motion yet, but Samuel J. Parker, if that's you, and we can get you unmuted.
Hey guys, I'm here. I don't know what happened there. I'm really, really sorry.
Not a problem. All right, I will now entertain a motion to pick up item 72 off the table.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Fletcher, do I hear a second? Second from Alder Miadzi. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Seeing none, motion carries. Item 72 is up before us again.
Sam, if you have two vices, does unmute one of them? We're getting a lot of feedback here.
I know. I'm pretty sure I don't. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I only have one device on, guys. Is it here? Is that better?
Is it your phone?
No, my phone's off. My other computer's off. I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's okay. Like we're very concerned about people breaking alcohol laws and operating in ways that aren't in line with their license. Having a little bit of trouble with technology does not get you on our naughty list.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's going on here, guys. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So are you connected using a computer or a mobile phone?
I'm on my computer right now. My phone is hung up and I just made it go far away from me.
Interesting. Do you have a pair of earbuds with a microphone that you could plug in to your computer?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Not a problem. Ms. Farley?
Oh, I was just going to say it's possible it's reflecting off of someone else's microphone. So if others are muted while Sam speaks, maybe we can confirm that too.
Certainly wouldn't hurt. So let's get started with this and see if it'll work. Can you please introduce yourself, Samuel, and describe what you're proposing?
I'm Sam Parker from the Settle Down Tavern. We're asking to two things: expand the capacity of our streetery area at Settle Down on South Pinckney Street to match how we're using it post-COVID without having to have the 6-foot spacing between everybody. And then also additionally to add an outdoor roadway cafe and sidewalk cafe to the little space out in front of 113 King Street, which was added to our licensed premise a year ago or a year and a half ago.
Excellent. Committee, what questions do you have for Samuel? Please do not allow the audio situation to prevent you from asking questions if you have them. We will work through it somehow. Okay. If there are no questions, Mr. Verbeek, are there any other registrants?
There are not.
Well then, committee, what is your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher?
I guess I'd like to hear if Alder Verveer has any specific concerns, thoughts, issues. Otherwise, I'd move approval.
Alder Verveer.
Thank you for asking. I do not. I'm happy to second the motion to grant. And I just wanted to confirm for my colleagues that although these are two different applications, the combined new capacity, since it's one license, not two alcohol licenses, would be 112 persons outside. So I just wanted to make that clear in case there was any confusion. So the motion that I think I'm seconding would be for a capacity of 32 persons outside on King Street, and now 80 persons total outside on South Pinckney Street.
Thank you, Alder Verveer. So we have a motion from Mr. Fletcher, second by Alder Verveer, to grant the change of license to premises for Settle Down. Committee, any discussion? Hearing none. Is there any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 72 is granted. Congratulations, Samuel.
I'm sorry, I missed the second on that one.
Second was Alder Verveer.
I'm sorry, who was the first then?
Mr. Fletcher.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next up, item 77, 21 plus entertainment license for Lazy Oaf at 1617 North Stoughton. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
We do not. The applicant registered in support, but not wishing to speak, so I don't think he was given a link. I don't know. Joe could correct me if that's not the case, but that's not how that functions anymore. But
they still get a link now, but
they do. Okay,
he's not in the list.
Yeah, he's not here.
Okay. Well, so we do not have someone here to speak to this application. Committee, what is your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher.
Move referral.
Your motion to refer. Is there a second? Second from Alder Miazzi. Any discussion? Any dissent? Motion carries. Mr. Verbeek, would I be safe to assume that you will let the applicant know that whether or not they wish to speak, we would wish them to speak?
I do actually include that in the link I send to the everyone who's asked to appear before us.
Thank you. Let's see. Would anyone object to moving to the items that actually have that are not bulk items before we hit the big ones? Seeing no concerns, moving on to item 79. Wait. I remember this up. Item 79, new license application for Mishki at 4604 Manama. And I'm pretty sure we've got somebody here for this one. Correct?
Yes, this is me. I'm Cynthia Garcia. And yeah, I applied for the liquor license because I sell Peruvian food. And we have some items like ceviche and seafood that I would like to offer at least the wine and beer liquor, so as an option for drinks.
Excellent. Thank you very much. You answered my first two questions before I even asked them. Is this City Attorney's LP?
I'm sorry?
I'm recognizing someone from the City Attorney's Office who will now ask you a question.
I don't really have a question, just an observation that item number 17 and 18 are not completed on this application, and it's an LLC.
What are the questions in those items? And Cynthia, after Assistant City Attorney Zilliby answers that, you can talk about why they aren't filled in and what the answers are.
I don't have any questions.
Assistant City Attorney Zilliby, what are those items?
Item number 17, which requires a list of the directors of the corporation or members of the LLC. So in this case, it would be members of the LLC. There's nothing listed there. And number 18, which asks for the registered agent of the LLC, that is also not filled in.
Cynthia, is that, who are the members of the LLC?
Oh, it's only me. I'm the 100% the owner. Yeah, it should be my name on all of those answer as an answer all of those questions.
Jim, can you update the application?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Committee, what other questions do you, or Jim, is that cool?
Yes, good.
Excellent. Committee, what other questions do you have for the applicant? Any further questions? All right. If there are no questions, a motion would be in order. Mr. Fletcher.
Is there a diagram or something like that of the licensed premise with this establishment? I think there's a description of, unless I'm missing it. Just because of the outdoors component as well.
Let's see. Cynthia, do you remember including a map or picture of any sort with your application?
Oh, yes, I did. I did include that.
Okay. So let's take in, Jim, can you confirm whether that is included or not? I've got my...
Do you mean it's like the floor plan?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I did it myself. And I give it to them with all the documentation.
It's not attached to the legislative item. I'd have to log out of the meeting to go look for that.
Okay. Yeah. It's just helpful for me to orient. So never mind. Thank you very much, Cynthia.
Yeah, and actually, they resent all the documentations that I bring it to them, and I can always, forward those to you. if that's necessary.
Just to make sure that we have it on file, could you please email it to licensing@cityofmadison.com?
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, committee, what other questions do you have for the applicant? See several people who look like they're thinking very hard about stuff. I will give everybody a minute and speak up when you have a question or want to make a motion. My guess would be, Cynthia, with 95 items on tonight's agenda, people probably didn't get to review everything in sufficient depth before the meeting.
Understandable.
All right, Alder Carter.
I move adoption. However, I would like to see the floor plan. So even if Jim can send it tomorrow, I would appreciate it.
Wonderful. Motion from Alder Carter. Is there a second? Second from Alder Yazzie. All right. Cynthia, do you have any concerns about getting that emailed in the not too distant future?
No, no questions. I'll send the documentations right now, what I have with me.
Beautiful. All right, any further discussion of this item? Mr. Fletcher.
Cynthia, out of curiosity, did you have an informational session of any sort? And if so, kind of how did that shake out?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, did you have kind of an informational session just to kind of ask members of the public and others just to providing them information about your business and what you intend to do with the alcohol license, etc.?
No, I just set up the meeting on the neighborhood and nobody asked me anything about it.
Did anyone?
No, the only person who sent me an email yesterday, it was, let me see, I have it here. It's from the zoning part because I supposed to go on the, what is this called? I supposed to go based on the area under another, what is the name of this kind of license that I have to apply for it? Under is something
use.
The conditional use, and they told me that I didn't have to apply for that conditional use because my restaurant is under other category, that I didn't have to go through that part.
Mr. Fletcher, given the location, this is in a strip mall, right?
Oh no, and actually the name of the person who sent me an email is Jenny, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing wrong, Kiergatter. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Alder Carter.
Let me see.
Yeah, Cynthia, just one more question. Did you, were you able to have a conversation with Alder Foster?
Oh, yes. That was the next day that I applied for the license.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And he was supportive?
Very supportive.
Okay.
And the same as when I talked to the police officer too. Yes, and actually the name of the lady that I was talking about is the assistant of zoning administrator.
Can you repeat that?
The person that I talked to about the conditional use name is Jenny Kiergatter, I believe is her last name, is the assistant.
Is it K-R-I-T-T something something?
No, it's K-I-R-C-H-G-A-T-T-E-R.
Yep, she's in planning. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. Any further questions or discussion? Mr. Fletcher.
Move approval.
We've already got a motion and a second. So If there's no further discussion, any dissent? All right, motion by Alder Carter, second by Alder Miadzi to grant is approved. Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I just sent the information a few seconds ago of the floor plan. Okay.
Great. Have a beautiful night.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.
Thanks. All right, next up, item 80. A new license application for SSA Group LLC, which I have to assume is not going to be printed on the side of the building. New license application for 606 South Randall. Do we have a registrant for this item?
We have two registrants, David Getz and Stephanie Gray.
Excellent. Welcome, David and Stephanie. Can you please introduce yourself and describe what you are proposing?
Sure. Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can.
All righty. My name is David Getz, Executive Vice President with SSA Group LLC. The city, the County of Dane issued an RFP for visitor services at the Henry Vilas Zoo back in November that we responded to, and we were lucky enough to win that RFP bid process. And we provide the concessions, catering, and retail gift shops at the zoo. And we are applying for this license primarily for alcohol service at catered events. Food service and retail, and pretty much anything that we offer at the zoo is something that we go through an approval process with the county. And at the moment, we don't intend to serve alcohol from concession stands because of the nature of the zoo and the clientele. So this license application is really so that we can serve for catered events, wedding receptions, corporate picnics, that type of offering. And as we noted in our application, it's not exactly a new license. It's not the current license holder or previous license holder was Centerplate, who offered the same services at the zoo. And we are essentially asking for the same type of license.
Does your business provide the same services at any other establishments?
We sure do. Currently, we're a family-owned business, and we started providing these type of services at zoos and aquariums and museums back in the 70s. We're currently in about 40 zoos around the country, including Milwaukee County Zoo and Henry Vilas. And it's about the same in most of these zoos. Daytime sales are usually negligible. The licenses are primarily for special events.
Excellent. And today I learned you can get married in the zoo.
You sure can. We're taking bookings already for next year. We'll probably do some in the summer, but yeah, it's a pretty cool location to have a special event.
Excellent. All right, committee, what questions do you have for the applicants? Mr. Fletcher.
Two questions, Mr. Chair. David, can you discuss any other sort of operational differences between yourselves and sort of Centerplate? I think you mentioned the concession stand difference. Is there anything else in terms of that you'd want to highlight for the committee?
Well, while SSA and Centerplate offer similar services around the country, the highlighted difference really is that SSA is a family-owned organization, and Centerplate is a division of Sodexo, a large international company. And so we take our liquor licenses very seriously. We have about around 35 around the country. just one owner of the company. So we do approach our licenses, with a different level of seriousness, I suppose. And secondly, we will be investing a good deal of money into the current facilities to upgrade both the catering and the concession facilities and the gift shop on site.
And Centerplate was the DBA name for, as you indicate, for Volume Services Inc., which is a subsidiary of Sodexo, correct?
Correct.
Are you going to have a DBA sort of situation in this instance, or not?
No, as far as invoicing, for example, when we invoice a client, it would just be SSA Group LLC at the Henry Vilas Zoo. But the day-to-day visitor, we made a decision probably 40 years ago not to promote our own name at these attractions. So the day-to-day visitor just sees Henry Vilas Zoo as the name, not SSA. So DBA doesn't, usually make sense in these attractions.
Got it. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Committee, what further questions do you have for the applicants? Mr. Verbeek, are there other registrants for this item?
There are not.
Committee, what's your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher?
I would move approval, Mr. Chair.
A motion to approve from Mr. Fletcher, second from Alder Miadzi. Any discussion? Mr. Fletcher?
Just so that I check, when we dealt with the alcohol license for the prior entity, did we issue any sort of conditions affixed to this license?
I have no recollection of the prior entity. I did not even know that there was a license holder at the zoo. So, Mr. Verbeek.
Let me look it up real quick. I don't think we did. I
mean, generally these licenses are utterly terrifyingly looking, since the licensed premises is, however many acres the zoo is, but in practice, I don't think it's used very often.
No, Centerplate did not have any conditions in the license.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second to grant this application. Any further discussion? Hearing none, any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 80 is granted. Congratulations, David and Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Okay, next up, item 85, Delicious at 931 East Main, number 7. Who do we have registered for this item, or who do we have the applicant here for this item, Mr. Verbeek?
Yes, Michelle Oyamada is here.
Michelle, can you please introduce yourself and let us know what you're proposing?
Hello, my name is Michelle Oyamada, and I'm one of the partners in the Delicious. And we just signed a lease 2 months ago with Main Street Industries, and our property is going to be right next to Old Sugar. And we are primarily a spice company. We were a COVID pivot. 2 of our partners are chefs and owners of restaurants. We do not propose a restaurant space. We are going to be manufacturing our spices in the space at Main Street Industries, but we're going to put in a kitchen studio so we can toast and grind our spices. And a couple of days out of the week, we would like to hold cooking classes and some small tasting menus to highlight our spices. As they're chef curated blends, they're not as easily used as like a cinnamon. So we have discovered by going to farmers markets and such that people need a little bit of instruction. So we'll be doing virtual classes and in-person classes. And so as part of that, we would like to be able to offer beer or wine, or sometimes we'll do some signature cocktails, like we have a Zocalo, a chili lime, so we could do a margarita. But we really will be doing, that's a very small part of what we're doing. It's mostly to highlight the spices, and we'll be doing mocktails as well as cocktails.
Excellent. Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Michelle, in your application under question 8, there's a discussion about kind of adding outdoor dining next year. How, in terms of capacity, I'm assuming it would be a minimal addition there, but can you just describe that for the committee?
Currently, we're thinking that with the space, because it's less than 2,000 square feet, we'll be doing 20 or 30 people at one of these ticketed events. If we have that outdoor patio, we might have an additional 20, 15 or 20. Yeah, similar to what Old Sugar has. They have actually a much bigger space, probably half of what Old Sugar has, but also not a big amount of people. And our ticketed events, we're expecting that they're going to be done by about 10 o'clock at night at the latest.
But right now, you're just asking for the licensed premise to be the indoor part of things, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Of course. Committee, what other questions do you have for the applicant? Alder Verveer.
Thank you. Welcome. As you know, we have a request from the Marquette Neighborhood Association to refer your application tonight because of a miscommunication. Can you explain maybe a couple of things? One, were you able to contact the Marquette Neighborhood Association, Alderperson Benford, and host an informational session all in the last several weeks?
Yes, before we signed our lease with Main Street Industries, we did contact the alderperson because it was really important to us that we'd be able to have the possibility of obtaining this license and talk to him, and he was very supportive. And then about a month later, we submitted our application. And I think even before I submitted the application, I sent out an email to the neighborhood association. I set up a meeting, we posted our sign, and I didn't hear anything back from the neighborhood association. So I sent a text message, I tried to leave voicemails. And when we had our meeting, nobody showed. And today. It was today. Yeah, today I learned that my email for some reason ended up in some people's spam. I mean, in the subject, I put alcohol or liquor licensing. I don't know why it ended up in the spam. But that being said, we really are excited to be part of the neighborhood. We're really excited to be part of the community, and I don't want there to be bad feelings. So we are very happy to have a meeting and talk to the neighborhood. But we need to get approved today, or we need to get conditional approval because it's going to be a very small part of our business. So we can't spend $10,000 on a liquor license. So we are expecting, and we filled out and did all of the things that we were supposed to, so we could be there July 1st.
Oh, I see. So in large part, the concern about any delay is because you're hoping to kind of, as other people have done over the years, at the beginning of the new licensing year, July 1, you wish to camp out at the city clerk's office in hopes of avoiding that unfortunate $10,000 fee required by state statute.
Yes, and everyone I talked to today, and we did talk again to the alderperson, we talked to the neighborhood association, everybody seems to understand that I did do everything that I was supposed to do, and this was just some sort of strange little hiccup, and that everybody seemed very supportive of what we wanted to do. I just, we also want to be careful not listen to our neighbors. That's not a very good way to start things either.
Who did you speak with or correspond with today at MNA?
I talked to Jen Plants, and I talked to Marlisa.
Marlisa.
Yeah.
And then there was Lynn Lee, I believe we talked to.
Yes. And yeah, Lynn Lee. And then I also did talk to the alderman.
Good. Is the other person that's responding to my questions, did they wish to identify themselves?
Oh, so sorry.
Yeah. This is Patrick O'Haller, and I'm Michelle's husband, and I'm a partner in the Deliciouser, and I'm the head chef and the spice curator.
Oh, very good. You're a well-known chef in our community, of course.
Thank you.
Yep. So did you make and again, sorry for this kind of colloquy back and forth. I obviously have no concerns whatsoever personally with your application. But just to confirm, to close the loop with M&A, because they're always so active and always provide such insightful recommendations to our committee over the years. Did you confirm with M&A then today that you would appear at the next Preservation and Development Committee meeting or board meeting? And if so, do you know the dates of that?
Yes, it's going to be on the 14th
of
June, and we have it on our calendar. We intend on being there.
I'm sure you do. And I'm sorry that this all came up, especially at the 11th hour. Luckily, I think this is pretty non-controversial, unlike the other item that M&A asked us to refer tonight, which we did so on our consent agenda motion. So you did articulate that Alderperson Benford is comfortable with moving forward tonight, or did you? I'm sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You did speak with Brian again today, or correspond?
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did.
So he's fine with this license going to be considered by the full city council on June 7th, even though you won't be at P&D as they call it until a week later on Flag Day.
Yes, I think everybody felt, we're talking about 3 days a week and, a very small amount of people. It isn't, as he said, it's not like it's a full restaurant or bar or anything like that.
Very good. Thank you so much and best of luck. I'm sorry again for the scare with the neighborhood association. You're obviously made every attempt to do the right thing and are working with them moving forward.
Yeah, and we just didn't know. I haven't ever done anything like this. And so when nobody showed up for the meeting, it was the first nice warm summer day. And it's also in a very warehouse, corridor. And so we just assumed that people weren't worried because it wasn't really a restaurant or a bar. And so we just,
Absolutely. Even if you weren't in a warehouse space, I assure you, most of the liquor license informational sessions held in the core downtown area that are on, a busy State Street, for example, people don't show up for those often. So anyway, no worries whatsoever. And thank you very much, both of you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alder Verveer. Committee, what's your pleasure?
There's no one else in the queue while I'm still unmuted. I move to grant the license.
Motion to grant from Alder Verveer. Do I hear a second? Second from Mr. Fletcher. Any discussion? Hearing none. Is there any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 85, new license for Deliciouser at 931 East Main number 7 is approved. Congratulations, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Okay, next up, item 88, separated liquor license renewal for Williamson Mart at 1130 Willy Street. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
We do, Courtney Lozzie.
Okay. And why was this item separated? Assistant City Attorney Zillary?
I asked this to be separated because on his renewal application, where it asks if there are any pending charges, he checked no. And he actually has a a pending felony charge for knowingly trafficking food stamps, and then a misdemeanor of public assistance fraud. So obviously with pending charges there, you can't do anything with his license, but I would ask that the committee put a condition on his license that when this case is adjudicated, he informs the clerk so that we're aware of it, so that we can appropriately deal with it at that time.
All right. Thank you, Assistant City Attorney Zilby.
And I would also like him to amend the application so that it's answered truthfully.
Okay. So first, Kuldeep, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, Kuldeep Mavi.
And are you the owner, the agent?
Yes, sir. I'm the owner and agent.
Excellent. Do you contest in any way what Assistant City Attorney Zilby has said?
It happened by mistake, so sorry for that.
Okay, so you do not contest that this is the case?
No, I mean, I happened by mistake. I'm a check mark by mistake.
Okay. Do you have any concern with our representative from the city clerk's office amending your application to include the pending charge that was left out?
Yes, sir. I can go there and do that.
All right. Assistant City Attorney Zilby, is there anything else you would like from this applicant? I recognize you also wanted a condition put on by the committee. All right, committee, what is your pleasure?
Say again, sir.
Alder Verveer.
Thank you. I have a question or two for the applicant, please.
By all means.
Thank you. Sir, could you recite for us, or I know you don't probably have the exact wording in front of you, but could you explain to us what you believe are the conditions on your current license?
I just sell a 6-pack beer, no 4-pack, no single bottle, no malt liquor, so no, just only 6 packs.
So you currently don't sell anything in less than a 6-pack, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Very good, because I remember we separated your license many years ago to strengthen those conditions at renewal time. Thank you for that. And then, Chair, I have a question for Captain Zanders, either now or at a later appropriate time.
I think now would be fine.
Okay. Captain, are you there? Thank you. I see you're there. Not that I expected anything less. Captain, as you know, the Willy Street convenience store gas station has often been in the news for incidents, not just the one Attorney Zilby articulated regarding the alleged food stamp fraud. But do you have any concerns on behalf of the Central District whatsoever about the operation there, or is it more a situation of they're victims of the location? I don't know. I don't want to put any words in your mouth. So bottom line, do you have any concerns whatsoever with the renewal on Willy Street and as it relates to the conditions that are on their current license?
This is a challenging one because, oftentimes establishments have isolated incidents, and that doesn't necessarily relate directly with the establishment or the operations that they're performing. Things that occur like disturbances in the parking lot, oftentimes that is not necessarily connected with the internal workers. But I think Attorney Zilby is actually more on point with, I guess, her concerns than me bringing up an isolated incident in which there might have been a disturbance or a fight or maybe even a stolen auto. So I don't have anything substantial to relay reference that Alder Verveer.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Fletcher, I would like to hand the gavel to you so that I can get a better lighting situation here so I'm not getting steadily darker over the course of the meeting. Any concerns?
No concerns. Good luck with the lighting issue. Any further discussion from the committee or questions from committee members about this sort of separated license? Alder.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Before we proceed to a motion, if I could just confer with Assistant City Attorney Zillavi one more time on her recommendation for us. Besides amending the application on the record to reflect the current pending criminal charges, and could you repeat what your recommendation is for us as it relates to once the case is adjudicated? Are you requesting that be a condition on the license, or recommending that be a condition on the license, and perhaps that the applicant would reappear before the committee? Or are you...
Well, at least that a condition that he would have to notify the clerk's office once the case is adjudicated, since he didn't indicate on the application that he had the pending charges. I'm not comfortable with just leaving this out there. And I mean, I don't know if next year I will remember to check, and I can't rely on him checking the appropriate box. And depending on what the adjudication is, then, we'll have to determine next steps at that time.
Do you see any, thank you, do you see any benefit in requesting the applicant's formal appearance once the criminal case is adjudicated, and so that they appear before the committee at that time? Just to update us.
Yeah, I mean, that probably would be a good idea.
Obviously received media attention when the charges were filed, so I presume that the local media will cover that when the case is adjudicated. But
right, I think an appearance would be appropriate, given that his business is a licensed business, and the charges, I mean, I think are relevant to the licensed business. So I think it would be a good idea if he appeared before the committee at that time.
Thank you. I was thinking the same thing. Appreciate that. If there are no further questions, I'm prepared to move a motion then.
Floor is yours, Alder.
Okay. Then I move to grant renewal of the Class A beer license with the conditions continuing, and add an additional condition that the license holder must or shall notify the city clerk's office upon the conclusion of pending criminal charges, or I should say pending criminal case, and that their appearance is then required. Maybe I should rephrase that. I'm looking for any assistance, but why don't I rephrase that and suggest that the license holder is required to appear before the ALRC upon notification to the city clerk's office that the pending criminal case has been adjudicated.
Perhaps upon conclusion of that case, the license holder must notify the clerk's office, at which time they'll be scheduled to come to ALRC.
That's fine too. Jim, you have the language one way or the other.
I'm sorry, can you repeat it?
Yeah, do you want to read back what you have for us, just so that, besides continuing I don't know if the committee wants to hear what the current conditions are, but so continuing the current conditions, and then do you want to just repeat for us, please, what the language you have for the amendment? The new condition.
I'm sorry, me?
Yes, yeah,
Oh.
you. Just to make it clear what the motion is for everybody, and then what will be before everyone else.
So there's the current conditions that are on there. Did you want me to read those?
Well, I have them in front of me. I don't know if anyone else is curious, but so you can skip that, I guess.
Okay. To add in the condition that the licensee will contact the clerk's office once the pending charges have been adjudicated.
And appearance is required before the committee. So she'll notify. You want to repeat your proposed language, Chair Donnelly? You suggested conclusion of the.
So at the conclusion of these legal proceedings, the license holder shall notify the clerk of the result of those proceedings and shall appear before the ALRC.
If I could suggest a friendly amendment rather than legal proceedings, perhaps pending criminal case or charges.
By all means.
Because there could be other legal proceedings we're not aware of. Yeah.
So we have a motion from Alder Verveer. Is there a second to the motion?
I believe I can second since I'm not in the chair at the moment.
I believe so too. At only seconds. Is there further discussion about this? Kuldeep, are you clear with what the committee is asking from you?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay, seeing no further discussion. Alder Carter, did you have a question at all?
No, sir, no question.
Oh, thanks, Kuldeep. Alder Carter, no questions from you though, correct?
No.
Okay, we'll move into a vote. So all those opposed signify so by raising your hand. Seeing no dissent, the motion stands. So the license is renewed with the conditions that were laid out and approved by the committee. Chair Donnelly, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much. All right, next up, we have items 89 and 90, a separated liquor license renewal and separated 18+ performing arts license renewal for North of the Bayou at 802 Atlas. Assistant City Attorney Zilleby, can you fill us in, please?
I had hoped to have this all wrapped up in a nice little package for you, but given the way the separation meeting shook out, I didn't really have any time to connect in a meaningful way with Mr. Beck's attorney. We did have a brief conversation, but the gist of the separation was that the East Police District wanted to add a condition to the license that the interior cameras in the establishment are operating when they are open for business.
All right, and Dale, can you please introduce yourself?
Dale, you're unmuted. Dale or Matt. You're both unmuted on our end.
Well, it's mute.
Hello, are you there?
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello.
we can hear you.
Dale, can you please introduce yourself?
Okay.
Turn the volume up. Okay.
I'm here.
Yep, we can hear you.
Wow, we can't hear you there.
Can't hear you very well.
Huh. Not sure what to say there. I think we can all hear each other, so it's not an issue on our end.
Okay.
Can you hear us, Dale?
Not very well.
Would you like an opportunity to make any change in your setup? Like, do you have a volume knob you can turn up, or?
I don't know why it's so quiet.
Are you on a computer or a telephone?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, excellent. So Dale, can you please introduce yourself?
Dale Beck, the owner of North of the Bayou at 802 Atlas Avenue.
Okay. Did you hear what Assistant City Attorney Zillaby was just saying?
She was cutting in and out. It was something about the camera.
Jennifer, can you please repeat what you were asking?
Yes, that the East District has asked for a condition on your liquor license that your interior cameras in your establishment are on and operational when you're open for business.
So, Dale, do you understand that request, and do you have any concerns with it?
No, we already have, the cameras are on. We have 50 cameras, and there was a couple of incidents that happened where the cameras weren't working at the time, but we do have cameras on all the time in the entryway. So we have about 50 of them that are already on.
So during those incidents, why were the cameras not working?
Because the power supply that was powering those specific cameras went out. Is
it your intent that you will regularly check and make sure that the cameras are still working?
Yes, we do that. Like I say, the power supply for those particular cameras that they asked for at the time did not work. The power supply that powers the cameras went out.
Sure. And that's what happened in the past. We're worrying about the future. So just that you will notice if that happens and have the opportunity to quickly remedy it.
That's correct.
Excellent.
And Dale, the reason that this request came is that I thought it was you that had the conversation with the neighborhood liaison officer, but I was told that you told her that you turned off the cameras when Club Voodoo was open.
No police officer had a conversation with me. That would be the opposite of what I would say. We want all the cameras working, and the more cameras working, the better. I mean, we even have cameras in the entryway to photo their wanding, to photo their ID. I mean, we got a lot of cameras, and they're always on.
Well, it sounds like.
I don't mean to interrupt. Is my? Oh, I'm seeing is my microphone on now? Can you hear me?
It is. Can you please introduce yourself first?
Oh yeah, I'm Attorney Matt Fleming. I'm sorry. I was trying to chime in a while ago, and I've been monkeying around to get my microphone to work. I just want to make sure it was.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
So what it sounds to me is like what the police department wants and what Dale wants are the same thing, and there isn't any disagreement or problem here.
Well, I think the only difference is I mean, right now there is no condition to have any cameras. These cameras have all been installed voluntarily, and I mean the impetus for asking for the condition is some cameras that he's not required to have to begin with aren't in operation, and we just would prefer to. You know, we don't really see the need for the introduction of further conditions because of the situation. Like I said, there was no camera requirement to begin with, and it seems like Dale has gone ahead and installed all these cameras, and now as a result of a malfunctioning power pack and some miscommunication apparently with the police department, now we're sitting here talking about adding conditions onto our license. When normally we would have just gone on with life and his license would have been renewed.
Oh, or a condition would have been added that there be cameras and that they be on. Committee, what is your pleasure? Alder Verveer.
Thank you. Welcome back, Dale. I'm sorry you're in this situation where we've been many times before at this time of the year together over the years. If you could just be a little more specific about your 50 cameras that you currently have, do they cover all aspects of the licensed premise, including the basement? And then additionally, how much of the parking lot do they currently cover?
They cover everything, including the parking lots.
And the whole basement area where folks are
Yes.
Congregating.
They cover where they are congregating, all the areas that are not where they're not supposed to be. There's coverage on everything.
Great. So when you've unfortunately had disturbances in the parking lot in the past, if you didn't have the power issue, your security camera system would really be able to capture all aspects of the entirety of the parking lot. You're saying?
Yes.
That's good to hear. Thank you. Do you or your attorney have objections to a condition relating to cameras that you already have installed? Attorney Fleming seemed to be objecting. Could one or both of you just confirm that you?
I would let the attorney speak with that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, we'd rather not have the condition for the reason I said, and also just because I haven't had any time to think about how to word it. The initial kind of suggestion proposed to me, was that they be operational at all times, and here we've got a situation that power supply is down, supply chains are strained, and rather not open the door to, having to figure out, are we reasonably doing everything to get the cameras operational, all when, all of this has been done already voluntarily. I think this is all before the committee based on a misunderstanding to begin with. It's just generally preferable not to have conditions if we don't need them, and I don't see anything that has really brought that need.
Thank you. And then one additional question, please, for either you, Dale, or your attorney. Your current license conditions, reference and different examples of your security plan that you submitted to us, I believe most recently in 2014 for this location. And by the way, the security plan that I'm referencing is entitled Lagartos, as opposed to North of the Bayou. Can you just confirm for us that the security plan that is referenced in your current alcohol license is indeed this same security plan that we have on file that's entitled Lagartos, and I believe dates from 8 years ago, or approximately thereabouts?
Yes, it's the same security plan.
It's the one and the same.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Verveer. Committee, what's your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher.
A question for Dale. Dale, what was the impetus behind you installing the cameras in the first place? Was it just purely of your own volition? Were there any conversations at all with the police department or others that may have suggested that course of action to you?
It had nothing to do with any conversation with the police department. I wanted to have a one-man security watching the cameras. We have walkie-talkies where I've bought airtime, so we communicate with the walkie-talkies. So I have one person security watching all the cameras so he can notify other security quicker than other security can be notified, because it's like the eye in the sky.
How confident are you that the power supply issues have been resolved as best as you can kind of figure it?
Well, we've ordered some backup power supplies. So with the supply issue on getting products, it just takes a little longer. So we'll have backup power supplies now.
Are the cameras operational right now then as a result of those kind of issues that you've, the supply chain issues that you've kind of just mentioned?
The cameras have always been operational. There is just a few cameras that haven't been operational.
How many out of the 50 would you say?
Out of the 50, I think we got 16 that aren't operational.
And as you mentioned, the COVID supply chain issues, there's not really a good indication of when you'll get the necessary parts in, or a few weeks, few months.
I don't think it's going to be months. I'd have to check the tracking number to see when they're coming in.
But at the moment, and correct me if I'm wrong, what you're saying is you would struggle to comply immediately with a requirement that the cameras be operational because of these COVID supply chain sort of issues. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Assistant City Attorney Zellaby.
And I would just say, if there's not going to be a condition, Dale, if you would, or have your staff communicate with the police when you are having these types of issues, because had you done that, this could have been avoided.
I am here on the weekends, so I don't really know who they talk to. I can find out. Usually I'm the one that talks to the police, but there might have been an occasion when that they were talking to one of the security staff while I was inside.
But do you understand the importance of communicating with them regarding, I mean, if you're having some technical issues?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, committee, what's your pleasure? Alder Verveer.
Thank you. Could I ask Attorney Zoli to please restate the proposed condition that her office is requesting? The exact language of it.
Well, it was on behalf of the police department.
Sorry, yeah, I don't mean to say it's Attorney Haas, but the East District of MPD.
That the cameras in the establishment are operational at all times they're open.
Thank you.
I have a question for Assistant City Attorney Brest. So, Steve, we have many conditions on many licenses, and in fact, there are ordinances that where there are factors that are outside the control of the license holder. Well, let's take a very simple example. People are required to not have patrons with alcohol in their establishment after bar time. If there are people who are there legitimately who then refuse to leave, the license holder will presumably call the police to come help. And it won't be held against them that an external party was causing that problem. does that basically make sense?
Yes, I think it makes sense. I thought your question was going to be something else, that at this point, because the license has already been issued to the licensee, we have to take some kind of action in order to require them to.
I'm aware of that. That's a good thing. I know that at this point, if we were to add a condition to the license, we would need to do so with the consent of the license holder.
Yes, that's correct. The city attorney Zillaby could proceed to some sort of prosecution as a result of the problem.
I don't think we're anywhere near that point. What I'm wondering about is if there is a condition on a license that says you have to do X, and the license holder makes a good faith effort to do whatever that is, if they are then stymied by factors outside their control and they are fully communicative with the police department and or city attorney's office about that, is that typically any sort of problem for them?
No, as long as there's communication going on and the requirement that they were unable to meet, they let somebody know what happened. If it's beyond their control, then I don't think that's going to be an issue.
So if there were a license holder who, like many licenses in the city, had a requirement to have video cameras and have them be functional, and they contacted you, and they contacted probably Assistant City Attorney Zillaby and said, hey, our cameras aren't working right now. This part broke. We've got it on order. As soon as we get the part in, we're going to fix it, but it's going to take a while. Would there be any ill effect for the license holder?
Well, there's some discretion involved in that, but that sounds like a reasonable step for a licensee to take, to contact the department or the city attorney's office and inform them of what's going on.
Excellent. Thank you. Committee, bearing in mind that if you want to add any conditions to this license, you should first have a conversation with the license holder about their comfort with that. What would you like to do at this point? Assistant City Attorney Zillaby.
Okay, going back to the fact that because of the way these separation hearings shook out this year, Attorney Fleming and I did not have an opportunity to meet to really flesh this out. So I guess, I mean, I think we could postpone it until next year because that, of course, renewal is the only time we can put conditions on the license. And if the police continue to run into issues there, then I can take any appropriate action based on that.
And of course, if the license holder has cameras up and working and is cooperative with the police and there aren't any problems, then there's no reason why any of that would happen.
Oh, right. Exactly.
So once again, we're in the position of everyone wanting the same thing, which is not to have a conversation in a year.
And again, it was just unfortunate the timing that we couldn't meet to talk about the situation to either avoid this or come to some kind of agreement.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Alder Revere.
Thank you. I'm prepared to make the following motion, and then we can have the conversation with the license holder. So I move to grant renewal of agenda item number 89, a Class B combination liquor and beer license, and agenda item number 90, separated 18+ Center for Performing Arts license, with the existing conditions remaining on those licenses, and then with the additional condition that, quote, security cameras in the establishment shall be operational at all times the establishment is open.
Do I have a second? Second from Alder Miazzi. All right, would you like to see the motion, Alder Verveer?
Yes, thank you. So it seems to me our earlier colloquy with the license holder and his attorney kind of was a split response where I realize I'm perhaps surmising this, but that the applicant was comfortable, but his attorney not as comfortable with such a condition. So let me.
I'm sorry, if I might. That's not the case. He was asking me to speak on it, but I'm representing Mr. Beck's desires on this. We've spoken, and I mean, I'm not here to further my own interest. I'm here to further Mr. Beck's. So the inference that you drew is not correct.
And I was about to ask you the direct question. So
okay,
why don't you elaborate, Attorney Fleming?
Well, I mean, I think our position on the matter I stated before. We just don't think it's necessary or appropriate. We certainly would agree that we want to get the cameras operational. We believe they'll be operational as soon as they can be, and we'll continue to cooperate with the police. And we believe we won't be back here next year talking about this same issue, and that's how we would prefer to proceed.
Well, your client's been with us many times over the years. I've been on this committee for something like 2 decades, and Dale and I way back, and I've heard that before, but I appreciate that. So could you, besides the supply chain issue, following the colloquy with our chairperson and our legal counsel about good faith efforts and so forth, could you just help me understand what the specific objection is?
Well, because it, as Attorney Brist stated, I mean, it does leave some discretion to be exercised there. And, if we're talking about relying on good faith and so forth, I'd rather the city rely on my client's good faith than my client's business and everything having to rely on, and I don't necessarily doubt the good faith, but people have different interpretations, see something different, and all of a sudden some other malfunction that happens, and we all of a sudden are having some kind of hearing all on, did he make a good enough effort? I don't know what other malfunctions might happen. So, just as a matter of principle, I think it's better, particularly when these kind of things can happen, to not have a condition on the license than to have one.
I'll just represent as a response. My thought is that if you look at your client's current licenses, and I believe the conditions are identical on each license, you'll see that, I just realized it's not the case with entertainment. We had perhaps a clerical error there. So if you look at the alcohol license conditions, some of them are I would represent much less important than having a functioning security camera system. But anyway, I hear your objection. I will just further state that we have an ordinance on the books as it relates to convenience stores that probably is way more onerous than this rather loosely worded condition that requires preservation of 15 days worth of video be stored, that it be a certain level of technology in terms of the quality of the camera system and so forth. There are other licenses that this committee has responsibility for that have security camera conditions on them. I just have a hard time, and I realize you're effectively representing your client, Attorney Fleming, but I just have a hard time to understand the objection here. But it is what it is.
Alder Revere, was there a question there?
If Attorney Fleming wished to respond, I was just stating my case.
I don't know. I mean, yes, I understand there are other conditions, other things that go on that may be worse, maybe not. All I know is what our current situation is. We have current conditions that exist. They are part of the license. Can't really do anything about them, whether we like them or do not like them. We just aren't going to consent to this condition. And is it the most onerous thing in the world? No, but we would prefer not to have it.
Thank you.
All right, so we do have a motion before us, which, committee, what is your pleasure? Would you like to move forward with this? So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Fletcher.
So, Mr. Chair, I think you mentioned, the awkward situation in a different context earlier about a different vote, and this kind of, if we were to sort of move forward down this pathway, maybe this is a question for Attorney Brist. The applicant hasn't consented to this condition. What are, one, the consequences of the committee passing this particular motion, and two, and maybe just more globally, because we've had some, shift on the committee, et cetera, what are the range of options for the committee at this point outside of approving this motion?
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Assistant City Attorney Brist.
Well, I don't think the committee can impose unilaterally a condition on a license that's already been issued. So unless you're creating a situation where the licensee feels it's in their interest to do this because, I don't know, because you may have a big hammer to come down on them with, I don't think you can unilaterally impose the condition that's in the motion.
Then, Attorney Brist, what are the range of other options that the committee has at its disposal in terms of appropriately, working through this?
If we were to take some sort of action, it has to be because the state statutes were violated. To put a condition on a renewal time without the consent of the licensee, I think we generally have to have the consent of the licensee in order to do that.
Okay. So, yeah, I think what I'm getting at, right, is and what you're saying, Attorney Brist, is if you don't have the consent of the licensee, the other option here is renewal, and then some sort of, and I don't think we're there yet by any stretch, but revocation or something like that down the road.
Yes, that's correct. But you obviously need the statutory grounds in order to do that.
Yeah, understood. I think I just wanted to be clear about the options this evening. So thank you.
So any further discussion? Alder Revere.
Thank you. On a totally different topic, I noticed not only inconsistency between the alcohol license and the entertainment license, in that it doesn't follow our normal procedure of having identical licenses on each, identical conditions on each license, but there's also seems to be a inconsistency in capacity. So looking at the alcohol license, it states the capacity will be a maximum of 480, with the basement being limited to 168. And then if you turn your attention to the current entertainment license, it states that, it's taking me a second to get to it since we have a 24-page agenda this evening. But anyway, when you look at the entertainment license, it says that that is a different number of 250. So if I could ask the license holder, with his attorney's permission, are you currently operating, Dale, the lower level or basement at a capacity of which one of these numbers, or a totally different number?
I think we talked about this a few years ago. We have the upstairs open, the downstairs open, and the patio open.
So do you know what your capacity is? Does you understand it for the basement or lower level now?
We only allow 300 people in the building. So it's 300, that's all we allow in on our voodoo nights. So we don't even pay attention to the capacity that we can have. We only allow 300.
And do you have like a separate number posted in the lower level from the city fire department or building inspection division?
Yes, it's posted right when you walk in the door. You can see it.
And do you know what that number is?
I think it's 168 that's posted for the basement, and then the remainder is for the patio and upstairs bar.
Can you refresh our memory? Back in 2017, according to your entertainment license, we had a basement capacity of 250. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And so you recall that then at renewal time, May of whatever year, we reduced you in the basement from 250 to 168. Is that correct?
I don't totally recall because it's been so long ago, but I know there was a conversation about it.
So are you comfortable with us cleaning up these licenses and being consistent? And so forget the security camera issue for a moment here. As it relates to all the current conditions that you've had on your alcohol license for years, that those would be included on your entertainment license, which was always our intent. I think this is just a clerical error. But then also that we would have the exact same capacity for your lower level on each of these municipal licenses.
Yeah, it would make sense.
Yes, it's very reasonable, it seems to me. And so you have no objection, and you're confirming, you're stipulating that it's your understanding that the lower level capacity is 168. That's what the signage is currently.
Correct.
Thank you. So could, Mr. Chair, could we, if I could amend my motion to make clear that the entertainment license and alcohol license, although I believe this was in my original motion, but are identical in all respects, particularly asking the city clerk's office to strike the language in the current entertainment license relating to the 250 capacity in the lower level, and so that each of the conditions be identical, including condition number 1, which reads the capacity will be a maximum of 480 with the basement being limited to 168.
Sure. Alder Madsey, any concerns?
No, I think Alder articulated it very well.
Excellent. So any further discussion? Mr. Fletcher.
We get a roll call vote on this.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. If there is no further discussion, Mr. Verbeek, will you please call the roll on Alder Verveer's motion to grant with additional conditions, which I'm lightly paraphrasing here, that adds a condition about the video cameras and also harmonizes the alcohol license and entertainment license with one another. So will you call the roll, please?
Am I calling a separate roll for each of the items or just one for both?
No, it is a single motion that approves both licenses with some changes and conditions.
Okay. Alder Carter?
Aye.
Alder Carter, aye. Alder Revere?
Aye.
Alder Revere, aye. Alder Miadzi?
Aye.
Alder Miadzi, aye. Ms. Farley?
Aye.
Mr. Fletcher?
No.
Fletcher, no. Chair, it is 4 ayes, 1 no.
All right, then the motion passes. I will be very interested to see what happens next. That disposes of items 89 and 90. And so I would now entertain a motion to take up items 5 and, go ahead.
Chair, if I could, there actually is, Hawk Sullivan is here for item 73. Yep, 73, which was referred.
Consider a previous action on agenda item number 73 is to state Sullivan was able to join us.
Excellent. I hear a motion to reconsider on item 73 from Alder Revere, second from Mr. Fletcher. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Excellent. Motion carries. Item 73 is back open for consideration. And Hawk, are you here with us? Hawk?
Hawk, you're unmuted.
All right, hello?
Yep. Yes. Can you please introduce yourself and let us know what you're proposing?
I'm Hawk Sullivan. I own Hawk's Bar and Grill at 425 State Street. I think that I'm here to ask for my patio to be expanded down State Street about, I think it's about 8 feet or so under the street, I think the Streetery program.
So is this space that you had expanded into already as part of the Streetery program? Now that program is ended and you're applying for a more long-standing use of the same space?
Yeah, I mean, currently my next door neighbor is a Zara and they don't use it. They don't use that space. I'm actually not even proposing to add tables and chairs, frankly. I'm just spreading people out a little bit further. Occasionally a Zara will put a tent out there, but they have plenty of space for that actually. And Azara has said they don't mind. They're like, they don't need the space. So yes, I think last summer we did it. And then, so now we're asking to do it again.
Who holds the lease for that space?
My landlord does. My landlord owns my building and the next door building actually that Azara is in.
But do you lease the space that you would be moving into, or does Azara lease it?
Azara does.
Assistant City Attorney Brist, would it be legal for us to grant this?
I think the issue is that the licensee has to be in control of the space that we expand the license to. So if there's a written agreement that allows the licensee to expand their licensed area out to include the section of land next door that's actually leased by somebody else, if that's, I think you would need like a sublease or something to that effect. But I mean, it's possible. It can be done.
Sure. So basically, he would need a written agreement of that, and also we would need to be confident that that written agreement would mean that Azara would not be able to ever have that part of a licensed premises if they got one.
Yeah, once the licensed premises has to be under the control of the licensee so that the licensee can supervise the sale of and non-sale of alcohol beverages.
All right, thank you. Alder Verveer.
Thank you. I think perhaps there's some confusion here. What Hawks uses is the City of Madison public right-of-way, a sidewalk cafe. This isn't private property that Hawk is applying for. It's his longtime sidewalk cafe. So with that said, Hawk was with us earlier in the pandemic and had previous streetery approval to expand next door. But if I could ask Hawk this question, I noticed when you were last on our agenda, you had stated that you were applying for and we granted a 36-person capacity outside 2 years ago in 2020. And tonight your application states 25 person. So I just want to confirm with you, Hawk, what's the exact number outdoors that you're...
I saw 25 too. I didn't understand where that came from because that's not, so I have 12 tables out there and say 3 per table. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 4. So I average 36. So I don't know where that 25 number came from. Wasn't something that...
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm looking at the application now, as my colleagues probably are. And so in your handwriting though, you wrote down 25, but you thought that was incorrect when you...
That must be, I don't know why. I mean, frankly, I don't know why I would put that, but it's 36. It's been 36 for 20 years.
Oh, Mr. Verbeek, can you please update the application to reflect what Hawk has just said? Great, thank you. Hawk, you're good.
Yeah, I'm just confirming for everyone's benefit in Legistar, and it says that our committee and then the Common Council concurred back on October and November respectively of 2020 that we granted 36 person outdoor capacity. So it sounds like this is just an error in the application, and what we granted you in 2020, Hawk, is what you're asking for tonight, correct? 36?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, thank you. If there are no further questions, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to move to grant with the revised outdoor capacity of 36 persons.
All right, we have a motion from Alder Verveer, second from Alder Miadzi to grant the application as updated. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Seeing none, motion carries. Congratulations, Hawk.
Thank you.
No problem. Have a great night.
You too.
Okay. We've got the 2 big ones, items 87 and 78, renewal of alcohol licenses and renewal of 18 and 21 plus entertainment licenses. Committee, what is your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if any of the city staff or my colleagues wish to comment. Otherwise, I can certainly move approval of those items.
I would say go ahead and make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
From Alder Miadzi. So this is a motion to renew those alcohol licenses enumerated in item 87 and 18 and 21 plus entertainment licenses in item 78. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. Is there any dissent? Seeing none, motion carries for items 87 and 78. They are granted.
Sure, before we move on, I see we have one attendee left, Jamie Swan. She is a change of agent. I just want to let Jamie that we did pass your item So if you want to continue watching, you certainly can, but we have passed your items. So if you want to leave, go for it.
All right. So I will now entertain a motion to take up items 5 and 6 off the table. Mr. Fletcher, do I hear a second? Second from Alder Miadzi. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Seeing none, motion carries. We are back to items 5 and 6. And before we dig into them, I have a question for Assistant City Attorney Brist.
Yes.
I remember that there is an ordinance, but I don't remember exactly what it is. Is the term limit for serving on city committees 10 years or is it 12?
I believe it's 12.
All right, thank you very much. No further questions. Committee, what is your pleasure regarding items 5 and 6? Alder Carter, then Alder Verveer.
If it's appropriate and the nominees agree, I'd like to nominate Mr. Donnelly as chair and Mr. Fletcher as vice chair, if they agree.
I accept the nomination. Mr. Fletcher?
Same, thank you.
Before we move forward with any sort of slate action, are there any further nominations for chair? Note that you may nominate yourself. Ask a second time. Are there any further nominations for chair? Are there any further nominations for chair? Okay. And since it sounds like Alder Carter is looking at doing a single motion to dispose of all of this, are there any further nominations for vice chair? Are there any further nominations for vice chair? And a third time, are there any further nominations for vice chair? All right, I'll call the nominations closed. Alder Carter, the floor is yours. I think Alder Verveer. I believe that we could do Alder. Go ahead, Alder Carter.
Everyone was frozen, so I missed what you said. Sorry.
Not a problem. There were no other nominations for either position. I was wondering if you wanted to make a motion rather than going through a normal election process.
Yes, I'd like to make the motion of Mr. Donnelly continuing as chair and Mr. Fletcher continuing as vice chair.
All right, I hear a motion. Is there a second? Second from Alder Miadzi. Is there any discussion? Alder Verveer.
Sincere thank you on behalf of all of us for the two of you re-upping. Thank you.
No problem.
You both do an excellent job. We're lucky to have you.
Thank you. Mr. Verbeek, will you please call the roll?
Alder Carter.
Aye.
Alder Carter, aye. Alder Verveer.
Aye.
Alder Verveer, aye. Alder Miadzi.
Aye.
Alder Miadzi, aye. Farley.
Aye.
Farley, aye. Fletcher.
I feel
you want me to put you as I for item 5?
Has anybody seen the movie Election, where the guy thinks it would be rude to vote for himself?
That's why I'm laughing, because that's the first thing I thought of.
And that's why I didn't move to re-elect you both by acclamation. We wanted to see you squirm.
Oh, I won't squirm. I mean, I would totally vote for myself.
Mr. Fletcher's squirming.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And Donnelly, do you want to vote?
I cannot, because I would not be making or breaking a tie.
Okay. All right. It's 5 ayes.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I will endeavor to continue to deserve your support. Item 91, summary of recent calls for service. Captain Zanders. Is there anything to which you would like to call the committee's attention?
Aye. On another, just a couple of locations that I'm going to be currently kind of diving into downtown. We did have one incident in which back on the 8th, I believe, there was an issue with one of the bars in which they had 25 underagers inside their establishment. So I'm going to follow up with lovely Jay Wando, reference that. And then we continue to revisit issues with the city bar in regards to staffing and security. And that's about it, other than me scheduling a meeting with Assistant Attorney Zillaby to address some other issues pertaining to Essen House and loud noises, as well as Whiskey Jacks. That's what I got.
Thank you. Committee, do you have any questions for Captain Sanders? Mr. Fletcher.
Captain Sanders, are these, you mentioned Whiskey Jacks at the end. I feel like you've mentioned Whiskey Jacks at least a few times in the past few months. Are these sort of, shall we say, continuation of old issues, or can you just enunciate that a little bit more?
Yeah, well, they continue to be our number one call driver reference to bars in the entertainment zone. Calls for service range from EMS assist to follow-up, check property, and then I recently just observed like 2 fight calls. So definitely just a continuous calls for service driver. I think the goal for me would be to try to determine the root cause for some of these activities that are occurring, and attempt to kind of narrow that down and follow up with them. So I think it's just more of a population day. They tend to be one of the larger bars in the area. They get pretty much a decent size of crowd. So once again, it'll be just kind of a follow up and making sure that actually some of these incidents actually occurred at their establishment, or if they just occurred near their establishment, in which the address was not changed.
Yeah. I'll repeat something we've said many times before. It would sure be lovely if there were a way to indicate whether something that happened at an address happened on the curb outside or actually in the building. Alder Verveer.
Thank you. Our newly reelected vice chair asked, and one of my questions was answered. Captain, my other question was your first establishment. I didn't think I heard you clearly. Could you repeat the first establishment you mentioned? Did you say Wando's, or am I making that up?
That's affirmative, Wando's.
And what did you say about Wando's? I couldn't hear you.
I believe it was May 8th, early morning hours. Our CPT team did a bar check and discovered 25 underagers inside that establishment.
I see. And I presume the Central Community Policing team has consistently been doing the safety bar checks, and there are other establishments as well, and that's just the most recent, or?
That's the most recent. I will say that to be fair to my community police team, we've all been extremely busy. Whether that's the recent rallies that have occurred, whether that's other kind of events that's occurring downtown to where they haven't been as active as in the past, based off of, like I said, just sheer busyness. So This might be a very case of a couple people or a couple establishments, I should say, that are kind of laxed on some of their checking. And I do know that Wando in particular has had some personnel changeover and has been not on site as often. So once again, it's something that I'm following up with and kind of looking into a little bit closer.
Thank you. And lastly, if you could remind me, we don't have the old traditional tavern file, I think, in records where these reports automatically go to Attorney Zillaby for potential prosecution, but can you just confirm that there is a clear line of communication between MPD and our prosecutor as relates to these various reports?
Absolutely, there is, and we have a very great or very good relationship in which I know that one of my CPT members sends emails on a routine basis when an incident like that occurs. So line of communication is clear between both parties.
Thank you for that. If Attorney Zillaby is still with us, I think she is, could I just ask quickly, have any prosecutions been started in municipal court that we aren't aware of? I don't know that we've been notified as a committee of any muni court prosecutions relating to liquor law violations since the pandemic.
No. And while we have communication regarding things happening, I have not been given the police reports. I have to request the police reports or get them some other way. And we actually just had a meeting either earlier this week or last week about that issue, that the disconnect with me not getting reports the way I used to get them back in the day of the tavern file. And I believe we've come up with a solution to that. So in the near future, that will be a little different in that I will be able to more timely access police reports when I'm made aware of issues.
I appreciate that. That's good to hear. I long for the good old days of Sergeant Wast and his tavern file. So
yeah, that made life a whole lot easier. That's for sure.
So you're confident that whatever this new procedure is that replaces the old-fashioned tavern file, that you will be notified regularly in the future?
I mean, it might take a while to work out some kinks, but yes, I think it will be a solution.
Good, I appreciate that, because Captain Zanders, almost monthly reports about particular establishments, but then we never have seen in the past the customary, prosecution notes that you share with us and potential demerit points being assigned and so forth.
Right. And I get the information directly. It's the police report itself that has been at issue. And that's because they've been directed not to send me police reports. So as I said, we've met. Pardon me?
That's too bad. I don't mean to get into the weeds here about that you're not allowed to directly receive reports like had been taking place for years in the past.
But as I said, we met and I believe we've found a solution to that. So in the near future, that will be implemented.
Good. Good to hear that. Like I say, thanks very much, both of you.
All right. Thank you, Alder Revere and Assistant City Attorney Zillaby. Alder Miazzi.
Yeah, just a quick question. I really thank Lieutenant Zanders for all that he does with MPD as far as all this information. I'm just curious just as a newly elected alder, trying to see about policies and so forth. So I don't know if the attorney can send me the information or Lieutenant Zanders offline, but just basically with bars that has over 25, that is a big number. I'm just wondering what kind of ID check, whether it might be, a lot of bars use the scanners and some of them use eye check as far as just even looking at IDs. So I'm just curious as we think about bars that have a high number like this, if there's certain policies where we can implement, like to make sure that they have certain scanners in order to scan in, or just even to hear for more information if this is if one of those uses a scanner or the physical eye looking at the ID and letting them in, because this leads to our most crashes or so it's just something that strikes my attention to try to see if we could think about some kind of strategy around this.
I will say that this particular issue is it was difficult years ago, but now it's so difficult because even the police can't look at an ID until it's fake anymore. And the scanners frequently scan the fake IDs. So it's a situation where it's nearly impossible for somebody to just look at an ID and tell if it's fake because it has the kid's picture on it. It has their correct address. I mean, the only thing that's different is the date of birth and probably the state of issuance. So it's a really complicated issue. I think there's an app that I think it's called IntelliCheck or IntelliApp, something like that gets like 99% of the IDs. I'm not exactly sure how it works. I don't think anybody downtown uses that at present. I think a lot of them do have scanners. So it's,
as a policymaker, is that something that is well within my purview to see about working with downtown bars and trying to see if we can come up with some kind of solution like that?
I'll let Steve respond to that since he's your advisor. But I just wanted to let you know that it's a really difficult issue because of how good the fake IDs are now.
Thank you for that wealth of information.
Sure.
Do you have further questions, Alder Manti?
No, thank you. Not at this time. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Alder Carter.
I was just going to say that the technology of creating fake IDs have matched and exceeded the technology of creating legitimate IDs.
Sure. And it's like with any kind of security thing, you can only respond to what people who have done. So they keep doing new things and you got to keep upping your game. It's the same thing with computer security. All right. What further questions do people have for Captain Zanders? All right. Thank you very much, Captain. That was item 91. On to item 92, report of the city clerk. So, Mr. Verbeek, to what would you like to call our attention?
I'll just say that renewal went pretty smooth for the most part. I believe we're going to have 14 regular Class B combination licenses coming back starting July 1st. And that's really all I got.
Excellent. Thank you. Committee, what questions do you have for Deputy Clerk Verbeek? All right, moving right along. One last item. Item 93 is a discussion item. I think it says the whole thing in the agenda. Do we want to start meeting in person? What is your pleasure, committee? Mr. Fletcher.
For context, Mr. Chair, I guess as the City Council sort of moved in a particular direction related to this, and two or other committees, have other committees moved into a in-person direction?
I would welcome anyone who knows the answer. Alder Carter.
The City Council has not moved into in-person. although I am sure that's forthcoming. And several other committees has chosen to continue virtual, but Alder Revere could add to that.
Alder Revere.
Pretty much ditto what Alder Carter just articulated. So I would say, in answer to your excellent question, Vice Chair, that the vast majority of city committees, commissions, and boards are still meeting virtually for the time being, but it's not 100%. For example, tomorrow I have an in-person city committee meeting, but that's in the distinct minority. The main weight, I think, for the city council as of tonight is the hope that technology will allow us to have hybrid meetings, meaning that all of our applicants and others wishing to testify before us would not have to come in person to room 201 or whatever room of the city county building or Madison Municipal building. And so we're waiting for that technology to be installed and available to us. And that's really what, as of now, is holding up the city council and city finance committee, for example, and other committees made up of predominantly alders are in that holding pattern, waiting for the so-called hybrid meetings to be able to become operational. And perhaps our tech facilitator, can, if you're interested, give us a status update as Joe knows it as to what that timing might be. I heard it'll be later this summer, perhaps, Joe, if I can put you on the spot.
I do know that 201, they're almost done installing the technology in there. There's still some things that need to get done. We're going to start training on that equipment soon. So I think the hope is to at least have that room available in June sometime. The other rooms in the MMB, I'm not so sure about, but 201 is almost there.
Thank you. I didn't know that it was so promising. So it could be as early as July that City Council might begin meeting in 201 again.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you, Joe.
Mr. Fletcher.
I think my only other question would be to Jim, and that is, have we received concerns or complaints from citizens, particularly about the ALRC with respect to accessibility, equity of not having the in-person meetings to the best of your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, no.
I mean, just for me, that hybrid solution where applicants would have the choice whether to show up in person or be remote would seem to be a promising sort of thing for this committee to consider when that technology is available, at least. So thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Ms. Farley.
Has there been any, I guess, guidance or from the public health of Madison-Dane County as far as vaccination or masking in regards to council and committee meetings?
What an excellent question. Who is able to answer that? So I'm guessing from the silence that no one knows. Mr. Verbeek, would you be so kind as to make a note that would be something to check on before the next time we have this discussion?
Sure.
Thank you. Well, I think I'm getting a feel from the room. As this is a discussion item, do we make a vote or what? Alder Carter.
I think this is something that we could have consensus, but I also wanted to add that if we do go in person, that we will be socially distanced if we're back in the chamber.
which is, of course, much more practical for a committee of our size than the Common Council. Assistant City Attorney Zilby.
And I would just add my 2 cents that I like the virtual aspect of these meetings, primarily because they tend to go late, and I never really enjoyed walking to the Dane County parking ramp at night in the dark by myself and walking up 5 flights of stairs to my car. That's a really scary thing. So I appreciate this forum for that reason alone.
One point. Well, let me.
No offense, Captain Zanders, that it's downtown.
No offense taken, and I would be right along with you. I would prefer to keep these virtual as well.
Well, let me ask, is there anyone who would like to advocate for a prompt return to in-person meetings? Let the record show the crickets sounding. I think in light of that, Jim, could we have this on our agenda again when the Common Council starts to firm up their plans for what to do next?
Yep, I can do that. I had put it on the agenda because, as Joe had mentioned, that we're getting close to 201 being technologically set for meeting in person, whether or not that happens or not. That's what I brought up, but I'll make sure that it comes up again once council makes a move on it.
Excellent. And I would encourage everybody to think about your own comfort level, where your threshold is for feeling good or not feeling good about in-person meetings. I think I guess it's cliched at this point to say the pandemic has been challenging for everyone. One of the areas that it has been challenging that I don't think has gotten enough attention is the decision fatigue from having to make your own personal safety decisions over and over and over in a constantly changing landscape. That is in and of itself a stressful thing. And I don't want to make anybody think that we would take that lightly. Your comfort and safety are very important. So please, over the next couple of months, take some time to think about it. And if you have discomfort or concern that you, for whatever reason, would rather not express in front of the whole committee, feel free to send me an email if you'd like to talk about it privately. Any further discussion on item 93? All right. Well, that brings us to the bottom of the agenda. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So a motion for Mr. Fletcher. Is there a second? Is there a second? Thank you, Alder Carter. All in favor of adjourning, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Need a couple more, I think.
Aye.
Awesome. Opposed to have the same privilege. Motion carries. We're adjourned at 9:28 p.m.